real, true, viable option for this. It passed in the House yesterday, 84-38. It passed in the Senate, 27-8. So while there was some dissension, there wasn't much. It is one of the few, I would say, that felt almost completely bipartisan.
Yeah.
That those in favor of it were not split down the aisle, were mixed one side or the other. Those who were against it, mixed on each side of the aisle. It did not have a true, this is a win or a loss for one side or the other. And that's unfortunately what politics has become, what passing things have become. This gets passed in Missouri or Kansas. Okay, who won? So
people should win, baby.
I need to know if I like this or not, because I want to know if my team won or my team won. Hell yeah, I love this. My team lost. Well, this is BS. They're trying to screw me over. That is not this, which certainly is a good positive step. And it would feel like there are some really good things that go along with this to attract the Chiefs to Kansas. But first and foremost, even those that may have not been fully on board, it was I'm not sure that I am 100% on board with this, but I am 100% on board to make sure the Chiefs and Royals do not leave Kansas City. That, to me, is interesting because it is not the citizens' vote. It is those that are elected to represent the citizens. And it was a view by some that were more reluctant yeses. That was not a commonly held view of the voters in Jackson County in this may not be the best deal, but is 100% the deal that I know that keeps the Chiefs and the Royals in Kansas City, in the metropolitan area, in Jackson County. Keeping Arrowhead Stadium. You didn't save the K. No. We talked about that the day after. You did not save the K is going away. It's just a matter of, does it move to downtown, does it move to North Kansas City, or now does it move to Kansas? You did not save the K. You did not do that. You may have lost the Chiefs, is what you did in voting no. But that was the view of some yesterday of it may not be the best, but first and foremost, it keeps the Royals and the Chiefs in town in perpetuity for a long time. And if they both build new, you're talking about 40, 50 years down the road when they may be looking for a new stadium. But, my son's going to be 60 years old when that happens. And for that time, he'll have whatever stadium they're at. At Arrowhead, we don't know. 20 years from now, they'll probably be looking for a new stadium if they renovate Arrowhead Stadium. So I like the proposal. I liked the vote yes. I mean, I would have voted yes. I didn't have a vote in Jackson County. I would have voted yes if I had the vote in Jackson County. Obviously, we don't have a vote on this side because this is just simply with those that are elected officials and the LCC that'll come up and they will be negotiating with the Royals and the Chiefs, or Chiefs/Royals. It'll pay up to 70% the cost of the stadiums for one or both teams. Royals about $1.5 billion. Chiefs are going to be over $2 billion to build the dome / what I would hope is retractable roof. Got it, Dylan. Retractable roof. Didn't go down that road. That was one day that there was a glitch for whatever reason. There was something was not computing.
What was
I
going
kept
on
saying
right?
retractable. I couldn't say retractable for some reason one day.
You've gotten past your bad boy Pistons.
That's exactly right.
Gotten over the hump.
No doubt. I was getting punched in the face by retractable over and over.
It was almost like Dr. Evil. Retractable.
So I would like it to be that. We'll see the plans, everything. And I understand why there was some dissension in the legislature because, hey, we're voting on this and we don't know the plan. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know how much it's actually going to cost. We don't know the specific amount that the Chiefs would put in. We don't know what the development around the area will look like. We don't know a lot of these things. We don't know if there is a community benefits agreement like there was with the Chiefs and the Royals on the Missouri side. We don't know about those things. And once this is passed, there are 8 people involved in negotiating. And then that's it on behalf of the entire state.
Well, the reason why I like it is again, you mentioned it. It's almost not a guarantee, but you're wanting to keep the teams locally. And my concern, I don't think it's going to happen, but your concern is if one or both were to leave, then you become Omaha. then you become. I'm not taking shots on these cities. I like Omaha. I've been there
You get
one
the
time.
College World Series
I've
right
been there
now.
one time. It was a lot of fun. That was the first city that came to mind. You become
Louisville.
Memphis, Louisville, but even like Louisville has golf, but like. Kansas City is great of the cuisine we have here. I love the barbecue. I love Kansas City. I've traveled a lot. I love other cities. I love Kansas City, okay? Love Kansas City. But if you're a tourist, a big draw for Kansas City, it is the sports teams.
Yeah.
How many people go, I want to see the K. I want to go to Arrowhead in the mystique of the Chiefs playing at Arrowhead. If you lose those, then you become Omaha where, well, I might go catch a concert at the Uptown. I might go to the T-Mobile Center, and I might go check something out there, but how often?
Come in town for the race, go watch sporting from time to time, but if you're not a soccer fan...
Big 12, but
Right.
but that's almost like Omaha with the College World Series.
Yeah.
Also, don't mistake the mystique of Arrowhead with the mystique of Patrick Mahomes, because nobody really came to Kansas City to watch the Chiefs before Patrick Mahomes.
No, but people would still go to watch their team play in
Sure,
Arrowhead.
but it wasn't like a event like it is when it is now.
Sure,
Now
it's
like
way
playing-
different.
It's bigger now, but I do think people would travel to Kansas City to go to Arrowhead. I do think it would be a destination, maybe not to the level of Lambeau or something like, but I think teams and fans might have been I want to see a game in Arrowhead one time.
Well, in
Okay.
Royals-
as long as it's my team that's playing in Arrowhead, not just randomly, I'm going to go to Kansas City just to watch the Chiefs play in Arrowhead. You may have more of a chance of that I'm going to go to Kansas City to watch the Chiefs play in Arrowhead because Patrick Mahomes is playing now for the Chiefs. I think there's a better chance of that.
Sure.
But if your team was traveling to Arrowhead, then that would be more of a destination as opposed to, hey, the Chiefs are going to Carolina. I don't need to go see Carolina. I don't need to go see the Panthers Stadium.
Sure.
Don't care about seeing it. But if the Chiefs go to Lambeau, well, then people are going, I got to go to Lambeau to watch the Chiefs play in Lambeau.
But also the Royals, too, I think specifically. I mean, Yankees and Boston are a horrible definition of this because there's so many, of those fans that live in the surrounding area. But like Minnesota, for example. Minnesota typically travels decently well when they play at Kauffman. But that would just all go away. If the Royals weren't here, you think people from Minnesota are coming down to Kansas City? You think people from Cleveland are like, you know what? I am going to go to Kansas City. No, they're not doing that. So to me, this is a step of, okay, if you are in the legislation on the Kansas side or Missouri side, you want to keep these two teams here because that makes you a bigger city. There is a draw. There's tourism involved now at this point.
You look to at, in the big picture of this, if they do move, they're moving what? 20, 30 minutes. But think about, here in the metro area on both sides of the state line, I feel like a lot of it is just a pride thing, right? If you are living in Missouri, I lived on both sides. I lived in Missouri, I lived in the Kansas side.
A nice both sides argument here.
Yeah, there we go. I have a foot in both camps. But it's funny to me when I see the arguments of if the Chiefs move to the Kansas side, you have people legitimately saying, well, I won't go. I'm not. If they're on the Kansas side, I'm not going to go to those games. And we know deep down, no matter where they play, you are going to go, especially if they move 20 minutes away.
Then you're not going now.
Yeah, then you're not going as much as you'd like to.
But you're not going now. If you say the Chiefs move to Kansas, I'm not going to a game. Then you're not going now.
Yeah,
I just don't believe that.
And to me, when did this all start? Going back to when it was the vote no, I'm probably thinking now ballpark a month and a half, 2 months ago.
It was
time
April
flies.
2nd is
April,
when the
yeah.
vote was.
So beginning of April, we never would have imagined that you'd get to this point. And honestly, when we saw the renderings, too, of a stadium in Kansas, I'm just kind of numb to renderings. I don't really care because you can put renderings wherever you want to, and it may be 10, 15, 20 years away, or it never happens, right? But now there is a little bit more momentum to it. And as you said, Jason, it's more so about, well, at least they're not leaving Kansas or Missouri. This is more of a, well, if they do move, it is on the Kansas side, but it's 20 minutes away. And I think that factored into some people of, I don't want to lose, above all else, I don't want to lose both these teams to a different city. I was listening to Steven today. It's like, I don't really care about the Rams, hearing about them moving or leaving Missouri, because I know that was a talking point during the discussions yesterday. Like the Kings, that was something that struck him a little bit more deeply. And I think with these teams, they fall in line with that. Of course, more longevity in the metro area, but that's what people come back to. They don't want to lose these teams, and above all else, If it just meant moving 20 minutes away, that's why I think some people voted yes in this. They don't want to see them move where you can't go see them on a daily basis.
Just really quickly with the Kings, and again, I would love an NBA team in Kansas City. I'm a massive.
The Scouts.
I even made a point about Garth Brooks. Maybe the Kansas City has an NBA team, if not for Garth Brooks. I was looking up at the two. I went to the Chris Stapleton on last Wednesday and a week ago, and I'm looking up, and all it is the seven straight sold out shows, then 9 straight, which is really cool. It was badass. It's awesome. But you're like, wow, those are the 2 banners that Kansas City has in T-Mobile. Not like a title, not even like a Western Conference final. But the one thing I will say is the Kings ownership was a lot different. NBA ownership is different, and the Kings specifically back then were different. And that was why it made it so difficult, and that was the big reason why they left. That was the reason why they left. And then with St. Louis and the Rams, Kroenke, I'm not a Kroenke guy. I'm a Mizzou guy, so it's hard for me, but not a Kroenke guy. The Chiefs don't have an ownership.
Yeah.
Or the Hunt family is not Kroenke.
No.
And that was the biggest issue of why the Rams left was Kroenke, not more so on the city of St. Louis or the fans. St. Louis fans did a pretty good job of packing out that bad arena as long as they did.
Well, and Kroenke didn't let people know, hey, if this does not pass, if we don't get a new stadium here in St. Louis, then I'm open to all areas of we would move to Illinois. We would move to East St. Louis. We'll move to Illinois if we have to. But we are looking for, a place to play. No, if this doesn't, we're going to move to L.A. Like we're gone. Like I don't have a connection to this city that will keep me here versus the billions of dollars I'm going to make by going to L.A. It's not worth it. The heartstrings or connection here to this community, I don't believe that to be the Hunts, which is why they've talked about they'll be open to the Kansas City metropolitan area. The Rams didn't even give Illinois a chance, right? It's like, no, it's this. Okay, we're gone. It's not getting passed. We're at a stalemate. Bye. See you. We're going to, well, no, we can do this. Too late. No, we're not listening anymore. We're going to L.A. Well, what if we offer this? Too late. We're going to L.A. We've already made the decision. I'm not coming back to the table. Whatever, went on behind the scenes, there were a lot of stuff that took place that I think there are certainly people there in St. Louis that would look at it and go, it didn't matter what St. Louis did. Kroenke was going to say no, and he was going to L.A. St. Louis could have offered him a free stadium, and he would have said, no, thank you, I'm going to L.A.
Yeah.
So there is that, and I don't think that's the case here with the Hunt family. I want to take a time out, and I want to come back and talk about the border war truce, because that was a big talking point on the Missouri side yesterday. The truce between Kansas and Missouri in attracting businesses or stealing businesses from one side or the other. That falls on deaf ears for me, and I'll explain on the other side of the break. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 913-912-4810. Texas, in terms of winners and losers, as we talked about the Star Bonds, that it was such a bipartisan feeling, those that were for or against it, that there wasn't all right, what side won, what side lost in terms of Republican or Democrat on the Kansas side. Obviously, if you're saying, well, the Missouri versus Kansas side, but Texas, the KC metro area won because we know there's at least a viable option for the Chiefs/Royals to stay around. I said when the vote happened the next day, my prediction was the Chiefs would move to Kansas and the Royals would still end up downtown, whether that be in Clay or the East Village or something closer to 18th and Vine, which is what Frank White wanted originally, wherever it might be. I think they'll end up downtown. I do think John Sherman wants that to be the case. But I never thought the Chiefs were connected to Arrowhead no matter what. I do believe Clark Hunt in that, quote, our preference is to stay at Arrowhead Stadium. Great. If we can get all of these different things we would like, yeah, our preference is to stay here. It is not a guarantee. It is not an option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then when we get to 11, we'll examine and acknowledge or look at other places. I do believe him from that standpoint. But once Jackson County said thanks but no thanks, then I opened the door for Kansas to step in and go, all right, here's what we can offer you, and we'll make it a better deal. And the Star Bonds does that, in which they don't have to go through the campaign. They don't have to go through trying to get the voters to agree to it. They don't have to go down the road of this is a sales tax that's going to increase for you in this area, and that tax can go somewhere else. This is a sales tax that's going to pay back the bonds created from the development. It's not a tax that exists right now. You're not spending any money in an empty space. You're not doing that. And so if they develop, then you'll spend money. So my thought at the time was the Chiefs are going to end up in Kansas and the Royals will end up downtown still at some point. Let's play Sean Tarwater yesterday from the conversation that was taking place in Topeka as the legislature was going through and giving their arguments or their reasoning for yes, no. Here is Sean Tarwater in the closing statement on the yes side for the Star Bonds.
There's been discussion that maybe they're just using us to get a better deal somewhere else. And maybe they are. But when I first introduced this, I talked about the sales tax vote that failed in Jackson County, Missouri. That's all going to happen again in order to keep those cities or those teams in the city, in the Metroplex. And let's talk about that just for a minute. The state of Missouri is known for losing professional teams. Not too long ago, they just lost the St. Louis Rams. They're now in Los Angeles. They used to have a professional hockey team, the Scouts. I think there's been 2 or 3 of them, actually. They're gone. They had the Kansas City Kings, an NBA team. They're gone. We used to have another Major League Baseball team called the Athletics, Kansas City Athletics. They're gone. And so I ask you today, do you really want to put that type of an economic generation in the hands of the state of Missouri? Or are you going to step up today and take a leap of faith and make this happen, keep them in the Metroplex and bring money to Kansas so that, yeah, it might cost us $700 million in sales tax, might cost us a little bit out of the lottery funds, but over that same 30 years, we have just passed a bill that will put over $20 billion back in the pockets of the taxpayers, both on the same day. I can't think of a better time to try to pass this.
So, a couple things with that. I'm not a fan of Missouri's known for losing pro sports teams. That is a low blow. Like, you can make your argument without that, okay? That's ridiculous. Because if Stan Kroenke had a professional team in Wichita, he was still going to L.A.
Yeah.
if Charlie Finley had a baseball team in Topeka, he was still a crappy owner.
Yeah.
That was going to go somewhere else. If the Hunts or the Kaufmans owned a team in Kansas, they'd probably still be where they are. Maybe it's the ownership that has more to do with it than, say, the state. As a text came in and said, St. Louis passed what the NFL demanded, and Kroenke still chose to leave.
Yeah.
Okay? The Kansas City Kings, as you talked about, different things going on at the time. Lamar Hunt, I should say, stayed in Kansas City. And Kansas City passed the stadiums in the Truman Sports Complex and then renovated and then other things that went along with it. The same thing for the Royals and Kaufman. So they're not known for losing sports teams. That's a low blow. They had bad owners. And this was a vote that I think could have been handled much better. We talked about that at the time. It could have been handled much better in a number of different ways. And it doesn't also mean then if Kansas didn't step up or Kansas didn't pass the Star Bonds, then the Chiefs and Royals were leaving because Missouri's known for losing professional teams. Again, I'm on record in saying I don't think the Chiefs and Royals are going anywhere. Text says not even a low blow, just an irrelevant one. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. But I do want to talk about the border war truce that came up yesterday. It seemed to be the biggest argument on the Missouri side. Let's play Mayor Quentin Lucas. And he had a press conference, and here's his answer and one of the opening statements of Kansas passing the Star Bonds yesterday.
I will note that it is regrettable that we saw the vote today in the Kansas legislature a restart of the border war truce. As I understand the economic incentive border war, we don't have some exception where anything cool that wasn't explicitly written is exempted from it. I think that is regrettable. I think it's short-sighted, and I think the reinitiation of the border war between Kansas and Missouri long-term will be bad for taxpayers in the Kansas City metro. And if you want any such example, look at this very discussion where people are asking, will Missouri copy the exact same tax incentive tools and others?
So here's my question on the border war thing. At what point are the Royals and Chiefs allowed to go across the state line? That's my question in the border war truce. Well, you can't come in and swoop in and try to take the Chiefs and the Royals. Your citizens voted no.
Yes.
So if you go back to the drawing board and come up with a, quote, better deal, and they vote no again, is it Jackson County or San Antonio? Is it Jackson County or Boise? Yeah. Like, that's not the choice.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Thank you. That's the one that's a better one.
Louisville,
for
whatever.
You,
Jason.
Yes,
for you,
that's
Jason.
right. No, that wouldn't be for me at all. Wouldn't be for me at all. It would be a punch to the Bengals fans in Louisville. Take that. Now what? Now who are you going to root for? Huh? Burrow or your own team? Jackass. No.
What is
the choice isn't Jackson County or a different city outside the area. Your voters had a chance. They still have a chance. If you present a better deal and put it on a ballot for them to vote, they may vote yes. And it may be more palatable for the Chiefs and the Royals to stay. But it falls on deaf ears for me to say and to hear, well, I thought we had a border war truce. They're just coming in and trying to steal the Chiefs and the Royals. You don't get the right of first refusal and a monopoly in negotiating with the Royals and Chiefs in perpetuity because of a border war truce. Also, part of it is if you take or attract a business with, whether it be tax incentives or some sort of deal that doesn't create jobs and offer a benefit to that area. Okay. Well, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm arguing pretty damn strongly this creates jobs.
Yeah.
Because renovating Arrowhead Stadium will create some jobs, some construction jobs and everything. Okay, great. Nothing's being built around it. This development is a brand new stadium, which is going to take more construction, longer construction, and you're developing around it restaurants and hotels, which creates jobs for those working in the restaurant industry or the hotel industry. You have created jobs. There can be an economic impact to that area with a community benefits agreement. So I would maybe argue it doesn't even fall into the jurisdiction of a border war truce. But even if it did, you don't get a monopoly to negotiate with the Royals and Chiefs when your constituents said no thank you. They had a chance. They didn't like the deal. Okay, but they opened themselves up to somebody else coming in and saying, we'll give them a better deal than you're going to give them. And that's what Kansas is doing. So the border war part of it is non-existent for me at all.
Mayor Lucas is mad because it makes him look bad. Because now it puts more pressure on him and Kansas City in general, right? That's what he goes. It blows my mind that all of a sudden, what did he expect Kansas to do? What did he expect? Just sit there?
But what did he expect the Royals and Chiefs to do when the vote was no?
Yes!
Which is why he was a yes.
How was? Yes, he was a yes.
But he was a late yes.
Sure.
He was a late yes. It was like the week of.
I thought that was...
So there's also that. It wasn't out campaigning months before.
Nope.
It was a late yes.
That was pretty damn soft of Mayor Lucas. Personally, I makes zero sense to me. Again, if I can criticize Sean Tarwater for taking a shot at Missouri and the team's leaving, I'm going to take a shot at Mayor Lucas for again, I thought those comments were out of line.
Frank White said the same thing, though. Frank White's like, what about the border war truce? What about What about your stall tactics in negotiating, Frank? What about, what about it could have been a better deal overall? There could have been more transparency.
Don't you want the team to stay in the Metro? Yeah. That to me, it almost is that not a truce? Saying we want the team to stay in the Metro. Think what's best for the entire area, not what's best for you politically. And that, to me, is something. By the way, can we now say border war? Can Missouri and Kansas go back to being a border war game? Because
there was a border showdown.
It was a truce.
It's no longer,
I'm with you.
It's now a border war because Mayor Lucas said it is. So
no, it's a border showdown. It's the border showdown truce.
The border battle.
It was the border showdown truce that they had, not the border war.
They could have done the border battle before the border showdown. That's one of my least favorite titles of it.
You win the battle, but not the war. So.
There you go.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
the battle bonanza.
We're not there yet, obviously, because the Chiefs and Royals are still on the Missouri side. But that, to me, sounds a little bit like if it does get to that point where the Chiefs and the Royals were to go to the Kansas side, I'm not there yet. I don't think it does happen. But it would be like a breakup and the ex telling you who you can and cannot date. Like, well, it's irrelevant to me. You can't not give me a good opportunity here, and then you say, oh, you can't do that. That's where I think, Missouri still has a chance, as you said, and there can be a better deal in place. I thought one of the main reasons, or at least what we had heard from on the vote no side, was that the deal was sloppy, right? It was just there wasn't a lot in place there. There was a lot up in the air. They didn't want certain parts of downtown to be demolished for the new stadium.
6 weeks before the vote, they had a new a new location.
Yes.
That was then in the Crossroads as opposed to the East Village or Clay or wherever. The whole thing seemed rushed and also slow played while also being disorganized all at the same time.
And you could see this also kind of as a good thing on the Missouri side is, if anything, this momentum, this heat on the Kansas side could spark a much better deal on the Missouri side of going, instead of having this mindset of, oh, don't worry, they're not going anywhere. We can put them wherever they want on the Missouri side. Now there is at least some legitimacy to this Kansas side thing, and it could bring a better deal on the Missouri side where you could have a vote pass in an overwhelming majority of yes. Whereas it was overwhelming majority of no.
Yeah.
The last time there was a vote, you can flip that. Yeah,
It's
it wasn't even
58.2.
close.
Not even close.
And you don't have the fear of it being in a completely different city. It's right here. So either way, there's not that fear of Utah or Texas.
Well, and the part of when Frank White puts out the statement of the border war truce, whatever, I think it's pretty transparent on the Missouri side when you have somebody in Brian Platt, the Kansas City manager, who comes out and says the city is going to take a lead role in negotiating and keeping the teams. Essentially saying, we're not going to have the county executive, Frank White, involved here. Which makes sense. It's smart, because if the Royals and Chiefs feel like Frank White was an issue and he was an obstructionist, you can't then go, hey, let's go back to the negotiating table. Frank, go get him. Go get him, Frank White. See what we got. But when the Missouri side comes out and it's like, hey, Royals, we got this. All right, we are going to be negotiating with you. We will take, because if you're the Royals or the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were sort of piggybacking off of this. So the Chiefs being in this position, I think you can make a case that the Royals are part of the issue here in the Chiefs being in this position. Because the Chiefs weren't looking to go on the ballot in April. The Chiefs weren't looking to get a new lease rolling 2 years ago. It was the Royals that had the sense of urgency. It was the Royals that were pushing for a downtown stadium. It was the Royals to bring along the Chiefs because they had the combined lease, because they had the Sacred Nations clause, because one side couldn't get something that the other side did not get. So the Chiefs had to be a part of the Royals in this negotiating part of it. So the Chiefs needed to come up with something on their part. And they came up with something. They have an activation zone. They had a cool club in the end zone area. That's nice, cool. All right, whatever. They had a bridge, you could walk and stuff. They had cars in a parking lot, and that was cool. They had trees in separating some of the parking spots. That was really neat that they had, but it wasn't exactly inspiring. I don't think the Chiefs, if they were on their own, would even be at a point to where they're coming up with plans yet for a new lease or renovations, but it was the Royals that wanted it, the Royals that wanted it, the Royals that wanted it. The Chiefs came along with it, and then it got turned down, which then opened up Kansas for the Chiefs to move. So if the Royals hadn't been so hell-bent on getting this on the ballot in April, had they waited another year, let's get it on the ballot in 25. Let's really take our time to make sure this is the deal that works for everybody, and everybody is involved. Everybody knows every single part of this. So they go in with eyes wide open in their vote, instead of going, I'm voting no because I don't even know what the yes is. I know the yes is to keep them, but is the yes going to screw us? I don't know. Because when Frank White was involved, the Royals felt like there was a delay tactic. When the Royals sent their proposal in late June, they waited for a counter from the county. That counter came late October, 4 months later, and the counter only included what other cities and stadiums sort of had some deals in place that they wanted it to be more aligned with that, which was public record on June 28th when the county got the proposal from the Royals. It took them 4 months to say, hey, we'd like it to match these cities. You could have said that 3 months ago, which the Royals essentially said in a letter going, what the bleep? It's been 4 months, you finally counter, and this is what you want. Okay, we'll give in. We're going to yield more than $200 million back to the county. We're doing this. We're going to give up the property and casualty insurance. We're going to give up and forfeit the park's property tax revenue. We're going to give up all of those things. Okay, give it back to the county. Great. The county came back and said, well, actually, we want more. We want to add more on. We want this and this and this and this. And the team said, go pound sand. That was in February when the county came back after the Royals countered or agreed to some of these stipulations that took 4 months for the county to come up with, that they go, all right, there's a sense of urgency here. You slow played it. You got us. All right. You did it. That was a tactic. We're up against it. We can't really negotiate much. Great. Let's do it. Actually, we'd like more now. you know what? Go pound sand. We'll see you in April. Okay. And then April happens, and Frank White goes, see, I tried to tell you guys. Tried to tell everybody that this was an issue. So when the city comes out and says, don't worry, he's not involved now, that's a level of admitting that there was an issue between Royals Chiefs and the county executive from what was happening in some of those negotiations. That there was not a Royals going, this is what we're going to do, and that's it. They did negotiate and give back $200 million. They came up with the community benefits agreement, which was like $300 million combined with Royals and Chiefs. So all of that took place, but the details of that were missing. And I wonder, specifically, I don't know if this is the case, anybody else that was more deeply and rooted and involved in those discussions, if the county counter had been given to the Royals in July, how far down the road would the community benefits agreement have been with the other parts? How much more would we know about what the total cost would be when you can get into those negotiating parts of it? But when they slow played in a tactic and 4 months later they countered with essentially what other cities are doing, that was a public record. You didn't have to do much research on that. You just had to go and Google. Just do a little clicky click and come up with that. And then the Royals agreed. And then you said, nah, we'd actually like a little more. It's coming up in a couple months. Want to give us a little more? Then we'll be on board. At some point, you got to go, no, this is what we feel like is the best deal. This is what we negotiated. This was your counter. And we've given in. And now your counter to that is we want more. Like, that's not in good faith. There is an issue there. But this sense of urgency, quote unquote, was spurred and created by the Royals wanting to move downtown. The Chiefs were not feeling a sense of urgency that we have to get something done right now. And now the Chiefs are in this position because the Royals were the ones that wanted to move downtown sooner rather than later. I think the Royals still end up downtown. That's the whole irony of this whole thing. I think the Royals still end up downtown, but I don't think the Chiefs play at Truman Sports Complex when it's all said and done, because the Royals' urgency and pressing that this has to get done has created the opening for the Chiefs to leave, which was that the end goal for the Chiefs all along? I don't think so, because it didn't seem like the Chiefs were really on board with the Royals and having this, we got to go right now, We'll figure it out. We'll take a timeout. More's on next. All right, went a little long in that last segment. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get into a couple of other things with this. We are going to talk with Ron Reichman Jr. coming up at noon, former Speaker of the House and now lobbyist with Scoop and Score on the Kansas side with the Star Bonds being passed. We'll talk with him about the impact of that on the area, whether that be in Wyandotte or, you know, that's certainly the expected location would be out there by the Legend and the racetrack. But also just, like, you know, are there unintended consequences? And can you foresee any unintended consequences? Because oftentimes it's like, well, this is an unintended consequence that we didn't foresee at the time. Can you do that? Is that there? And some other aspects of this, because there's not going to be any community lobbyists that will have much of a say here like you had on the Missouri side, which had a real impact in the no vote.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I think one of the things that... So I think the Truman Sports Complex, with the Chiefs specifically, have an advantage in location. They don't have to acquire land. They have the history and the nostalgia that goes along with it. And it is tough to move. It is tough to leave that behind. You don't have, it's not Men in Black. They don't come and erase your memories from Arrowhead Stadium if they were to leave, if they were to move. It just, sorry. Nobody in New York loses all of their memories of Yankee Stadium when they tore it down and built a new one. Okay? If you can't tear down the K because there's too much history there, they tore down the house that Ruth built for a house that Aaron Judge can hit home runs out of. Okay, so it was very small. It was a tiny house. They built a tiny house.
A shack,
on,
if
on
you
wheels.
will. A shanty.
They were tiny house living. The Yankees were trying to be in the 21st century and getting into the 2020s, and tiny house living is what they wanted to do. If they can tear down Yankee Stadium and the history that goes along with that. But not even, from that standpoint. Like, the Chiefs have an advantage of they don't have to then find the land, acquire the land, figure out some of those logistics of that. They have to figure out how they can create revenue in a stadium that's already built. They have to figure out some of those things, the added revenue that you can give to the cash side of it, so you can be a little more fluid, a little more flush, right? A little more liquid, I should say, with your cash by being able to sign contracts and guaranteed dollars and cash that has to go immediately into escrow when you sign those guaranteed dollars with these contracts. And we're seeing that with teams all over the league, and something the Bengals are dealing with right now, and trying to create added sources of revenue in Cincinnati to be able to put that money into escrow. So there is an advantage from that standpoint. The disadvantage, though, is the dysfunction that's going on in Jefferson City, because there's no time soon that they're going to be able to get something done with offering a counter. Like, I would be shocked if they were to offer some sort of a counter or an option to the Chiefs and Royals from the state standpoint before the Chiefs and the Royals have to agree to this in June 30th of 25. It'd be really difficult to do that because everything would have to then happen post-election, but then you'd have to get a lot of people on board. It took how long in the negotiating between the city, the county, and that's without the state even being involved in a certain degree? Like, with the dysfunction that's going on there, they ended the legislative session last month. They're not going to meet again until January. The legislative session was a complete debacle because everybody was grandstanding to get reelected. That's what it was about. It wasn't about doing what was best for the state. It was about doing what was best for your own campaign. And if they call a special session just to talk about professional stadiums in August, yeah, because that's not going to be grandstanding either. I mean, they were grandstanding in the actual legislative session. Now they call a special. Here's another opportunity I can get up there and let everybody know why you need to, whether I'm going to run for re-election or I'm running for a higher office. I'm going to run for a higher office, and this is my opportunity to then, have everybody that's talking about stadiums in the city. Like, people were paying attention to yesterday's session in Topeka, not because of the $1.2 billion tax relief that they were voting on and talking about. It was because of the Chiefs and the Royals that people were paying attention to. So this would present another opportunity for those looking to get reelected or run for a higher office to then grandstand even more, which would get nothing done until the election is over, and then they meet again in January. And at that point, are they then going to get something done? I don't know. But by that time, the Royals, Chiefs, and the Kansas side can be coming up with more specific details to this by the time Missouri even starts to discuss what they can offer and present to the Chiefs, to the Royals, to stay. Because that was part of the unknown, is what would the state present? What would the city put in? How much money is going to come from, public financing, from taxpayer dollars, not a tax increase per se in the state, but reallocating funds from something to then go towards Arrowhead or Kauffman Stadium. So they have the site already. They just don't have the people in office right now that are fully on board with getting this done the way that clearly Kansas had in the 111 to 46 vote, combined with the House and the Senate. 111 yes, 46 no. It's a pretty strong yes. It's a pretty strong we're all on board, even with a good portion of the unknowns. We're all on board that we want this to happen. There's so many unknowns, and you can't get people on board even when there were knowns, last year. I don't know what the future is going to be in the next 4 or 5 months, but I don't think there's going to be anything from Missouri until after the election. And by then, we might have an actual site picked out for the Chiefs. We might have a better idea on if they're going to carry over some of the community benefits agreement that was going to be involved in the Jackson County part of it to then take that over to Wyandotte. Just one of the things I want to ask Ron Rickman about because this is not going to a vote. This is just simply not going to a vote on the ballot. Does that just make it good faith for the Chiefs to offer a community benefits agreement? Just like, oh, we'll do it in good faith to help out Wyandotte, to help out some of the underserved, to help out public housing, to help out, those areas that they were going to do in the Jackson County side and the Kansas City side. They were going to do that because it was required in the negotiations of we are going to be on board with these things and this is how it's going to benefit the public. Because with the Star bonds, you don't have to get a vote from the citizens. So you don't have some of the community activists that are going to be rallying for one particular thing that can impact their area the way that the Missouri side did, because people aren't voting on it. So it almost feels like there has to be a good faith effort, which then I do feel like that's an element to where your elected officials do have to speak on your behalf. And there's a decent amount of lack of trust that there are politicians that actually think about those that would be most affected by whatever policy is passed, as opposed to how does this help my campaign and re-election? Because once you get elected, your main job then is to get re-elected. Once you get in power, your main task is to maintain power or gain more. That is simply the American way. And that's a question I would have. I'm in favor of like what was passed yesterday, but there are a whole lot of questions that have to be asked before we know that it will be an overall really good thing for Kansas to have this happen. It's a good thing to not lose the Chiefs and Royals. Number one, with a bullet. Right there. Number one, don't lose the Chiefs and the Royals in the Kansas City Metro. Where do you think they end up, Sterling? Right now.
I think the Royals end up downtown. I think they'll find a way to get the Royals downtown. I'm hoping Arrowhead and the Chiefs stay at Arrowhead.
What are you leaning one way or another?
I'm leaning probably them going to Kansas.
Is there a percentage feel?
60-40.
60-40?
I think Royals, I'm pretty 80-20. They go downtown. We can make some notes here.
I'm going to
take some bets on this. I think
it's just a June 19th feel.
June 19th
right now.
feel. I think the Royals still find a way to get downtown, and I think the Chiefs and Clark Hunt, being the businessman as he is, will take the best deal, right? And I think the best deal more than likely will come from the Kansas side.
What do you think, Jack?
I think I'm right there with Sterling, and it's funny because I remember when this first got proposed to the Royals going downtown, I had this vision of once Kauffman was demolished, you could really develop something cool out there, the Truman Sports Complex. I've been to Lambeau Field, and they kind of created this bar district that's really cool right next to the stadium. Like, you've got just Lambeau, which is massive, by the way, just smack dab in the middle. And then you've got this great bar district on both sides of the stadium. There's like the Hall of Fame right before the Packers Hall of Fame, right outside the stadium. Like, it's really developed out there. And once I went there, that's the vision I had of once Kauffman Stadium goes downtown, which is what I think is going to happen. you could have this opportunity of creating, in the absence of Kauffman Stadium, this really cool bar district, lots of things out there by it, but I don't see that happening anymore.
Yes.
I think that what Sterling said about Clark Hunt of the best possible deal, and what you just said, Jason, of now Kansas has this opportunity in the next couple of months to just keep adding on things that make this deal sound sweeter. And if Missouri is going to delay this and wait till after the election, well, then in your mind it starts spinning of, wow, that sounds really good. Oh, that sounds even better. And yes, a lot of promises have to be held. A lot of questions have to be answered. But if Kansas gets this opportunity in the next couple of months to keep having answers to those questions, and it's radio silence from Missouri, well, then if this deal gets presented to Clark Hunt and it's a really good deal, I would think he would take it. But the idea that I had in my mind of Kauffman gets demolished, there's Arrowhead, and for the first time ever, there's this amazing bar district and stuff to do down there, I don't believe that anymore, because that's not even been proposed. That's not even an opportunity to happen.
And that's my, as great as it sounds, and I thought the exact same thing. How awesome would that be? You have the space for it. You have the damn space now. You have the space now, and you have the Royals who play up 81 games there.
Yep.
Take away 81 events, and now you're left with 8 to 9 regular season ones and a
1 to 2.
1 to 2 playoff games, and the 5 concerts a year that are there. That's not enough events for a bar manager to say, you know what, I'm doing it. That's why it works in Philly.
Yep.
Because you have the Sixers, the Flyers, Phillies, and the Eagles. That's why you can have a bar district all right there. It's why it, to an extent, works more for baseball than football, why Wrigley works, and why it works in St. Louis. You have 81 events, at least 81 events. As much as I would love for that to happen with the Chiefs, because I'm a man, I admit it, I'm Charmin Ultra Soft. I hate the cold, okay? I love going to Chiefs games. Bleeping love it. I get so cold. It'll be 50 degrees, and I'm like, give me the warmers. Give me like 3 jackets. But see,
warmers at 50 degrees.
dude, I admit myself,
Man.
I golf and I'm fine. Golf, for some reason, I'm moving around when I golf. I don't know. It's something with the it's with the concrete. It gets me. But see, I admit it. Okay, I'm a man. I'm 30, and I admit it. Okay, I don't like the cold. I would pregame probably in the bar district. Okay, I'd postgame the bar district. I would love that. I just don't see it happening if it's not happening when you're taking away now 81 other events.
What's your percentage feel, though, Chiefs?
I think it's not super confident. I think I'd put it a little bit less than, so Sterling, you had 60-40. I think I'm like, what would that? I'm terrible at math. 55, 45? Yeah, 55, 45. I think that's where I'm at.
55. You're 55,
Yeah, 55,
55 guy.
I go to 110, and I feel good about it.
55-45 Kansas?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Dylan?
I want to ask a question. Can they put a casino or a sports book in these stadiums?
So that's where
Yeah.
when they had their proposal, when the Chiefs gave out the renderings and they added the activation zone, which was the funny haha about the whole thing, and the end zone club and the
Bridge.
the bridge that was there.
You guys were using a bunch of words earlier about describing it. I wanted to throw an underwhelming for that right there.
Yeah. So my thought was the, quote, activation zone was a placeholder for a hotel casino when Missouri passes gaming, that the Chiefs would be able to enter into an agreement with whatever handle or company would run the casino. The Chiefs can't have their own casino, right? The Chiefs can't have their own,
Most
sport,
likely be
not
Hollywood.
necessarily a casino, but sports book, right? They can't have their own sports book, right? I mean, so it can't be the Chiefs sports book, but they can enter into an agreement with DraftKings runs the sports book at whatever hotel they build right there, and some bars around it. So you are attracting people to that area outside of just Arrowhead Stadium. You're attracting people in Jackson County that's closer to the Truman Sports Complex than they are to the boats, than they are to Hollywood Casino, right? Than they are to other places that would have then a sports book that, okay, well, I'll go there. We're going to go to the sports book and watch the NCAA tournament. We're going to go to the sports book and watch some Royals games. Royals are out of town, but we're going to go there and hang out, have some drinks, have some food, and bet on some games. And the Chiefs get a percentage of that, which is added revenue along with whatever suites they can add in. My thought was that was a placeholder. It was so uninspiring because it was like, This ain't actually what we want to have happen. If Missouri can get off their ass and legalize gaming, then we would have a much cooler sort of proposal of look at the reflections and the glitter and all of the different hotels and the reflection of the sun off the windows. And,
service.
oh, it looks so cool, right? Look at all the stuff surrounding it, and it's got the spotlight off the top of the hotel that's going on, and look what we're doing over at Arrowhead. We got all these cool things. Wow, this looks pretty badass, right?
You're making it sound like a mini Vegas. It's like how Vegas
Well,
has.
that's what the renderings will have.
Well,
I mean,
well, it's like Vegas has
Yes.
like the mini Eiffel Tower, and,
Right.
then Kansas City gets like the mini Eiffel Tower.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like
it's the renderings. That's what
copy
they're gonna. The renderings always have like the reflection of the sun and the sparkles that go along. Like, oh my God, it looks so pretty here. The sun is hitting that perfectly right now. That picture. How do you get that view? It's great. That's what the renderings would look like if that was the case. That's my theory. In that would be the area where they would do that. It wouldn't be incredibly tall because I don't think they want to block the view of like cars driving by. That would have like your promotional value just right there by anybody traveling interstate past Kansas City on I-70. You would see Arrowhead Stadium. Oh, that'd be cool. It wouldn't be blocked by a big hotel, but there would be something there that would add revenue, that would add some glitz and glamour in that area, but would also be an attraction. Just a regular bar is not going to attract anybody there. Oh, we put up a hotel and a bar. Who's staying at that hotel? They can't get the hotels around there anyway to have people go there. What are they staying at the hotel for? You're losing 81 dates, as you talked about with the Royals. Those games are gone. You've got concerts and you've got Chiefs games, and that's really it. So how do you attract somebody to whether it be a hotel or a sports book along that route? Well, you attract them that way.
Yep.
By having
Dive
people
bar.
go there.
Dive bar.
Well, you can have a bar where people dive into water too. I don't
No,
care.
I want
Whatever,
a dive bar
whatever you
where
wanna
the
do.
floor is sticky and it's the same night. I want someone to create a new dive bar where you
Pretty
bring
sure
in
they're probably
$2.
where you bring in the 1970s carpet that's like that green carpet that's just threadbare.
Isn't
and you
that
can
all
see the
there
floor.
is around Truman Sports Complex is like dive
I like
businesses,
those places.
dive
I like
bars?
those places. I'm a dive bar guy.
It's a
I've already
dive.
cornered that market,
It's a
yeah.
dive Taco Bell.
Yeah, it's a dive Denny's.
It's a dive.
Well, no longer.
No
yeah.
longer. Yes,
R.I.P.
but it's a.
Used to be there.
I think they've already got that.
So my question for that is because Missouri has to pass a sports gambling bill and a star bond bill to.
Well, they don't even
create-
have star bonds.
I
so they
know.
would-
I'm saying
so-
that just to equal the
Yeah,
deal that
I see what you're
Kansas
saying.
can present,
Yes,
and they're not doing that.
because I do think the Chiefs would enter into some sort of an agreement
Yep.
with a book.
So Missouri
that
needs
they
to
would
pass
add that
sports
revenue to.
gambling and be able to pay for the stadiums out of their pocket.
Do you now see why Dylan I was more confident on the Kansas side for the Chiefs and Clark Hunt being a businessman
And
taking
that's
the
why I'm
better
gonna
business
say-
deal?
Yes, we heard. And so the 80-20
Wow, Dylan.
part on
Testy.
the Chiefs side, I want to go like 70-30 on Royals because can you find a spot on the Kansas City, like downtown-ish, where like Strawberry Hill-ish area, where you can be on the Kansas side somehow, but still be Kansas City-ish downtown? I feel like they'll explore that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then if they can't do that, then they'll go downtown.
So you're 70-30. It's going to be downtown for the Royals, Dylan.
Yes.
Where are you with the Chiefs?
I'm going to go 80-20 like Stu.
80. No, Stu went 60-40.
For Chiefs?
Yeah.
On the Kansas side, 60-40?
Yep.
Ooh.
You went
My
60-40.
bad. Then, yeah, I'll go 80-20.
I'm going 80-20 as well. I'm 80% along the way that I think they're
My
going to
bad,
end
Stu.
up in Kansas. So I thought I would be the most confident in that, but Dylan and I, because Dylan's point there is part of the what I believe to be an underwhelming proposal by the Chiefs, in that Kansas already has that advantage of they've passed that. The Chiefs can then find that added stream of revenue along with the other land development around there that they could have some sort of a vested interest in the bars and restaurants and things like that they would develop, and land acquisition that is part of revenue for the team to then become more fluid for the cash aspect of, as Carl Peterson always said, it has to make sense with both cap and cash to pay whatever contract. And now even more because that cash has to go into an escrow. So you have to have that available. So yeah, I'm 80-20 on the Kansas side. The 20% on the Missouri side is the nostalgia and the memories and Lamar Hunt loving Arrowhead Stadium the way that he did. There's still a 20% chance that Missouri can come through and offer a proposal that is close enough that the nostalgia and the heartstrings pushes it over the top of what Kansas can offer that Kansas doesn't have because everything would be new. You'd be developing all new things, whatever it might be. That's the 20%. But I think the Chiefs or the Royals are downtown. I think the Royals are going to end up downtown. They're not going to stay at Kauffman. By voting no, you did not save Kauffman. I know there was those shirts of Save Kauffman. You did not save Kauffman. They're leaving Kauffman Stadium. It's just a matter of where they're going to go, Kansas or Clay or Strawberry Hill maybe, or East Village or Crossroads or whatever place they may end up. But they're going to be outside of the Truman Sports Complex.
And that's why it's 30. Is like they'll try and get on Kansas' side for the gambling, I think, because can the Royals do the same thing? They can put a sports book in the new Royals Stadium too if they do it on the Kansas side. So they're going to try and explore that because it's money.
Yeah.
And if they can't, which I believe they won't be able to, I think the 70% they will be downtown.
I thought I was going to be the most bullish with 60%
Really?
Chiefs and Kansas side. I didn't know that you guys were going to be
No,
that.
I thought it was
60 was bullish over there.
on April 3rd, on Wednesday, April 3rd. I thought the Chiefs were moving to Kansas. I'd said that on the air on that day, and it was like, oh, you're just fear mongering. You're just like, no, you've opened up a door to where Clark Hunt now has a reasonable excuse of saying we wanted to stay at Arrowhead, and you said no.
Like what Jack's talking about with Lambeau is what they want to do, and
Yeah.
they haven't.
Yeah.
They've had a chance to do it out there for years, and
It's just not developing, man.
Yeah.
It's just and it's not going to unless there's a specific attraction outside of just the game.
But what Missouri can somewhat do now is wait to see what Kansas offers and then try and match or slightly one up. So that does give them the opportunity there. But if you are in, just for example, I sell real estate, and a lot just real estate in general. Do you want someone who's confident? In this instance, it'd be Kansas, who came out from the get-go saying, no, we want this. We want this house. We want this. It might be $5,000 less. But the person earlier goes a little wishy-washy. They came in under ask, and then they see that, well, I guess we'll go $5,000 more. Well, who are you going to go with? Who do you trust? Which offer to you seems like they're more serious? The one that said from the get-go, this is what we want. We're giving a strong offer first. We want this house. Someone who's like trying to play a game, yeah, maybe we want it. If it's close and there's similar offers, will Clark say, you know what? Kansas from the get-go said we wanted this one. Clark, we know there's not going to be any wishy-washy here. They want us. They might just go with the person that wants them more, the state that wants them more.
The people that are gung-ho about it, are they willing to waive the inspection?
Are they?
Can they take it as is?
It might be as is.
Done. Okay, I'm taking
be
that
as
person.
is.
It might be a little bit less, but as is, we're good. We're all on board. Let's go. Handshake.
It's like a cash deal too. Early close date.
Oh my God! I mean, are you kidding me?
10-day close.
I'm selling right now. I'm already packing my stuff. The moving van is right around the corner. I'm just calling them like, hey, go ahead and they're turning the corner right now to start. Do you need us out next week? When you need us gone. We'll find a house. I mean, there's just walk into a house right now and say, I'll buy it from you.
Hey, I'll help you find a house, Jason. I got a guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I can talk to your mom. It's perfectly fine. We'll take a timeout. Come back. More Zone next. We'll talk with Ron Rickman Jr. at noon. Former Speaker of the House and now lobbyist with Scoop and Score as the Star Bond issue was passed yesterday. With the special legislative session that took place, not expected to be vetoed by Governor Kelly. We'll talk with him about some of the particulars that can come from this Star Bond issue with the Chiefs and the proposal and opportunity to move to the Kansas side. Sad news yesterday, though, in that Willie Mays passed away. I saw that Willie Mays was trending last night right next to Justin Timberlake, and I didn't know why either was trending. The first thing I saw was why Justin Timberlake was trending, and there was a part of me that was hoping that Willie Mays was trending for that reason too, just because it would mean that he was still alive. But he passes away, and I got into this conversation a couple of years ago, and I've admitted my hypocritical nature of this. And I'm going to combine a basketball/baseball GOAT discussion in where I offer my hypocrisy before even talking about Willie Mays. I've often balked at any younger person in their teens or 20s that wants to argue with me that Jordan is better than LeBron. Because my response is, you've just seen highlights of Jordan. That's all you've seen. You've read things about Jordan. You've seen highlights of Jordan. How are you saying he's better than LeBron that we've seen? You never actually watched him play. It's stories being handed down like legends. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend. While at the same time, I believe Willie Mays is the greatest player that ever played. And I never watched him play for a second. He was done playing 7 years before I was born. So I admit my hypocrisy there, in that never. Now, I don't know that there is a dominant discussion of GOAT versus with a current player. Like people arguing, well, Mike Trout, right? Mike Trout could be the greatest we've ever. I mean, I've argued I think Albert Pujols is one of, if not the greatest right-handed hitters we've ever seen, just specifically right-handed hitters. I'm not throwing in his all-around game and his defense and everything, but like the greatest baseball player of all time, in my opinion, has been Willie Mays, will continue to be Willie Mays, and it's odd for me to say I haven't seen a player like Willie Mays come along in the current game when I never actually saw Willie Mays play either. I'm going off stories, legends, highlights, numbers, accolades, etc., as to why I believe Willie Mays is the greatest of all time. People can argue Babe Ruth, that's fine, whatever. I think there are, others that would be, in the discussion, but quickly moved behind those two. But for me, it's Willie Mays is the greatest.
He's fifth all-time in wins above replacement. Babe Ruth 1, Walter Johnson 2, Cy Young 3, Barry Bonds 4, Willie Mays 5. Obviously, Babe Ruth's going to get a little bump for the pitching part of his career as well. It's just insane. What was it, 24 times? 24 times an All-Star?
Yeah.
2-time MVP.
He also finished in the top 3, I think 7 other times in the MVP, even when he didn't win.
345 after going in the military.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's like, Jack Nicklaus, where it's like he won, all these majors, and he finished second in another 50 majors. It's like he was runner-up in so many others. Like Willie Mays won 2 MVPs. That's not really a lot, right? He was also top 3 7 other years of the MVP voting.
What I find crazy, and you brought that up, the military service. He 2 years in Major League Baseball, then did military service, and then came back. I always find that so impressive, and I think it's so underrated in players' careers. That happened for him in 1953, lost an entire season, while Elgin Baylor did that in the 1962 season. It was the same year, actually, that Oscar Robertson had the triple-double, same year that Wilt average was at 50 and 20. That same year, actually, Elgin Baylor averaged like 26, 10, and 5, and he was also doing military duty that year.
I just want to point out that while he missed the entire 53 season, he missed 70% of the 52 season as well.
Yeah.
So he essentially missed 2 years with military service. It doesn't go down as that because in his baseball reference page
Sure.
it says 1 year, but he missed like 130 games or 120, something like that, the year before with military service.
This might be my favorite thing. Rookie of the year, missed the 2 years of military service, came back, first year back, MVP.
MVP.
Pretty damn good stretch right there.
He also led the league in on-base percentage as a 40-year-old. At age 40, he led the league in on-base percentage. Like it's 400, over 400 on-base percentage. His baseball reference page is littered with bold ink, all over the place and leading the league in a lot of different things. So, and that doesn't even, that's the offensive side of it. That doesn't even include him playing a premier position as maybe the best that ever did it.
12 gold gloves.
Is that all?
Fingers, thumbs, and 2 toes. 12 gold gloves.
I almost think baseball has the most difficult debate of who the best of all time is, because I think there's
because NBA's LeBron. But go ahead.
Yeah,
baseball.
there you go. I mean,
discussion.
in basketball, right? You can have your arguments of rings and then also individual numbers, longevity, stuff like that. Baseball, why I believe it's so tough is that there were so many different eras, and it wasn't like a slight change here and there. Like it's drastically different from when Babe Ruth played to when Willie Mays played, and from Willie Mays played to when Barry Bonds played. By the way, the Giants having 2 of the greatest players of all time in Bonds and Willie Mays, and again, I understand the steroid argument for Bonds. He still had to be a good player.
He was pacing to be a top 5 player all time before his head grew 7 inches.
Yes,
So.
A lot of guys had. A lot of domes grow at that age. A lot of people's domes grow.
A lot of people end up with a size 12 hat.
but
he actually was walking around with the original big-ass hat.
It was the original Brian
There you go.
Robinson big ass hat, yeah.
Wearing one of those.
But with Willie Mays, I think he might have the best argument just in terms of the era he played in, who he went up against, the overall WAR, home runs, batting average. Yeah, the MVP argument, if you just look at the 1 or the 2, he still was right there. And that also goes to show you how many great players there were during that stretch. And that's why with Babe Ruth, again, pitching is why that number is so inflated for the WAR. Of course, he was the greatest hitter, arguably, of his generation. He was on the best team back then. But the Babe Ruth argument, I think, is losing that steam because you have somebody like Willie Mays, because you had somebody like Hank Aaron, too, who's, I think he's over 150 for career WAR. I mean, basically an entire season's worth.
Yeah.
Him and Bonds are right there, like 160, 162. And with Willie Mays, he doesn't really have any stain on his legacy. I don't think that you look at the argument of, well, the era he played in was easy to not really. It's much different than it was in the 1910s, 1920s. And then also there's no steroid argument there, right? It's a clean career. And as Sterling said, you win the MVP after coming back from service. That, to me, alone should be one of the greatest arguments you can have.
Well, I mean, the pitchers he went up against were also some of the best of all time. I mean, you went up against guys like Tom Seaver. You went up guys against like Sandy Koufax. The prime of Sandy Koufax was when Willie Mays was doing all of his best stuff. Like, it wasn't like he was going up against, again, I hate doing this, but against a lot of the guys that Babe Ruth was going up against. That's a different argument for a different day. I don't want to get into that. It's just the game has evolved. Like, Willie Mays started his career kind of in the, okay, you're pitching almost, 2 times every 5 days. The starter's probably going out there. And then he went into when baseball really became what it is today to an extent, right? You had 4 starters, maybe 5 starters. You had, you're going up against the Tom Seavers. You're going up against the Sandy Koufaxes. You're going up against the Juan Marichals. Like, you're going up against the elite of the elite pitchers. Like that era when he was playing in the 60s, you're starting to get closer to today's style of baseball, what we're kind of used to witnessing, right? It's not quite the Babe Ruths or the Honus Wagners or the Christy Mathewsons of yesteryear.
Well, and also like when he's finishing, second or third or fourth in some of these MVPs, he's finishing behind Hank Aaron and Stan Musial and Duke Snider and Ernie Banks, guys that are, all-time Hall of Fame great players that every year those are the players he's going up against in, the National League MVP voting. And so it's like, oh, he finished fourth this year behind Ernie Banks and Stan Musial, and Hank Aaron. Well, finishing fourth seems pretty damn good that particular year. Finishing second, well, who finished first? Well, it was Ernie Banks. Oh, okay. Well, Ernie Banks had a 600 slugging percentage that year and had 130 RBIs and almost 50 home runs that particular year. So Willie Mays only had 1,000 OPS. He also, when you talk about the power speed combination, he led the league in home runs 4 times. He led the league in stolen bases 4 times, in his career. I guess, who does that? Who offers that ability to hit 660 home runs in your career and still lead the league in stolen bases another 4 years and still have almost, 350 stolen bases, almost half as many home runs. It's not like he had 10 home runs and 5 stolen bases. He had 660 and 340, more. He had more than half stolen bases than he had home runs.
Yeah, and back-to-back years of 30-30 seasons, very close to 40-40.
Yeah. Can we hear real quick? Let's hear Bob Costas weighing in. It's about a minute long. He was on MLB Network last night with Brian Kelly, and here's what Bob Costas had to say.
BK, trite as it may sound, statistics as much black type as there is next to his name in the baseball encyclopedia or baseball reference, as amazing as those statistics may be, they do not do him justice. You had to see him. I was only a kid. I was in college when he played his last game. The first time I saw him play in person, I was 5 years old. But you knew. It was like Michael Jordan in basketball. If you took somebody who'd never seen a basketball game to see the Chicago Bulls and you didn't tell them who any of the players were, their eyes would go to Michael Jordan even if he was having an off night. If Willie Mays was 0 for 4 and there was never a play in the gap, nothing spectacular, just the basket catch, just the way he carried himself, you would be drawn to him. He exuded joy. It wasn't just that he was great. He was incredibly great. But there was something more than that. There was something poetic about him. And I imagine that what Tom writes in Sports Illustrated will capture that better than the rest of us can.
It's an interesting point because it's hard in baseball to stand out as, okay, that's the best player on the field any one given night. You show up to Kauffman Stadium and you don't know anything about baseball or the Royals. That night, Bobby Witt may not look like the best player on the Royals or, arguably in the game. He made routine plays at shortstop, went 0 for 4, fly out, ground out, a strikeout, whatever. That's the guy that was the best. It's difficult to do that. Basketball, it's like, all right, that guy. That guy, okay, I can see that guy's 6'8" and he's bringing the ball down the floor and he's, doing a step back 3. That's different, okay? Baseball's so hard to do. And, with Bob Costas talking about, watching him play, you went out there and you just sort of knew, okay, that guy's different. That guy, there's something about him. And, look, don't know what it was like when people went and watched Babe Ruth, right? I mean, he was, more than a man, less than a god, right? But there's always been something about Willie Mays that I've looked at and said, cross generations and eras, as you talked about, Jack. I don't know for a fact, and I can't prove it, but Willie Mays, among a lot of players in past generations, I think could play in almost any era and would find a way to be great in any era. Whether that be in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, he clearly was in the 50s, 60s, and I think in today's day and age, he was that good and that gifted and that natural, he'd find a way to be great in today's era, and that's why I think he's the greatest of all time. I don't think Babe Ruth would do that. I don't think he'd go up there swinging a tree trunk and hit something 98 that's moving. So that's just me. I don't know. We'll take a timeout, come back, more Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour, we will talk with Ron Rickman Jr. coming up on the other side of the break, former Speaker of the House. Lobbyist with Scoop and Score, as that was passed yesterday in the Kansas legislature. It was 84-38 in the House, 27-8 in the Senate for the Chiefs and or the Royals to play their games in Kansas with the Star Bonds. June 30th, 2025 is the expiration of that agreement that the Chiefs and or Royals would have to agree to whatever the negotiation, the terms that they'll be going through right now, and what that timeline will be with the LCC moving forward. So we'll take a time out. We'll come back. We will talk with Ron Rickman Jr. We'll get into some Royal stuff later on in the show. Mick Schaefer will join us. More Zone right after this. the show. Coming up tonight, a little Sporting KC versus Real Salt Lake at 7:30 right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Royals in action in Oakland against the A's at 8:40. My prediction already wrong of the Royals sweeping the A's.
That's why I said 6-3.
I was a little more aggressive. I was a little more aggressive that the Royals were going to sweep the A's and then take 2 of 3 from each. I was really aggressive. Let's go. Let's go. We'll see what happens tonight with Cole Reagan's on the mound taking on Luis Medina. You say Medina, I say Medina.
Funky Cold Medina.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's what people call him. Funky Luis Medina. And Funky Cole v. Medina. Funky Cole v. Medina.
Put that on a giveaway T-shirt. That's a bobblehead for you.
Yeah, Funky Cole Reagan's v. Medina. That's coming up tonight at 8:40. We'll see if the Royals can bounce back. They fell behind the Twins last night. They are a half game behind the Twins. They are now officially in third place in the American League Central. It's weird, my feeling today as opposed to like a month ago. A month ago, that would have bothered me last night. But seeing how, it's been so long since we've been in a pennant chase, since we've been scoreboard watching, that my emotions in late May, early June were way too invested in games that were specifically that night. Game 50 of 162, that day meant a whole lot more than obviously it should have meant, to where I'm getting annoyed or mad or frustrated at that particular game and watching the Guardians continue to win, and that becomes annoying, frustrating as well. And I'm watching these things happen, and I'm watching the Royals fall behind the Guardians more and more, and it's like, well, this sucks. Even though, like, we're talking about just them competing. And yes, expectations do change. And I think the expectations are now that they are going to be a playoff team. And if not, there would be a disappointment. It would not be a failure of a season. It would be a disappointing season. But I think the season would still be a success overall organizationally. But personally, for a lot of fans, I don't think there's any question they would find that to be disappointing based on what happened in the first 50, 60 games. Right now, 74 games into the season. How they're playing. Still 8 games over 500. I mean, it's part of the, if you told us they were doing this, then how would you feel? Right? If I said they were 8 games over 500 through the first 74 games and they're 2 games up on the third wild card spot, how would you feel? Oh, I'd love it. That settle out of court right now, I'd take that. Even though they are, 7-13 in their last 20 games that they have played. 19 of those 20 coming against really good teams. The A's not. Alec Marsh just did not have it last night. Was battling, was struggling through most of the game that he was out there for. Even when he got 3 consecutive strikeouts, it came in an inning when he already gave up 2 runs.
Yeah.
And he had 2 men on and nobody out. And he had to get those strikeouts. Like, that was a requirement for the game not to get out of hand. And the game ended up getting out of hand the very next inning with the A's putting another 3 runs on the board. So they just simply didn't have it. He didn't have it last night. And so falling behind the Twins, yeah, that sucks. But it's weird, like my reaction last night / this morning, waking up and the Royals being in third place. Okay, that's fine. We'll see what they do tonight. We'll see what they do the rest of the way. And I don't know why that's changed for me from being extremely invested every single night in the wins and losses. I'm still there, but watching them struggle last night, I'm like, all right, well, we'll see tomorrow night. We'll see tomorrow night. And maybe it's because it's not specifically against the Guardians. I know the Royals are better than the A's.
Sure.
They lost that game, but I know they're better than the A's, whereas they lost 3 or 4 to the Yankees, and that sucks because they're not better than the Yankees. Are they better than the Guardians? Let's see. They lost that game. That sucks. Are they better than the Guardians? I don't know. Probably not. That's why I think there's more emotional interest and investment in like a Guardians or a Twins game. It's like, who's the better team? Let's find out. Tonight's going to be a referendum on the entire season based on this one game. They're better than the A's. They just had a starting pitcher that went out there and didn't have it.
They say don't go to bed mad, and I went to bed mad.
Really? Last night?
Oh, I was pissed.
Okay.
Oakland lost 9 straight games going into this.
I know.
Don't get me wrong. I know they're better than the A's.
Right.
So
yeah.
you got to beat the A's.
Right. I'm with you. That's the other part. Yeah.
We know they're not as good as the Yankees and the Dodgers, and that was shown. They went 2-5. Like,
right.
We keep talking about, well, now it gets easier. Well, I'm the same. I said
Maybe
this.
the Royals thought that too.
This gets easier. Well, then beat them.
Yeah.
It's not played on paper. Alec Marsh, I loved what you did against the Yankees. That was bleeping awesome. You were 2 scoops of ass against the A's.
It might have been 3. I don't know.
The Oakland A's, their logo is A for ass. They're horrible.
Is that really what it is? I didn't realize
the
that.
asses,
I
the
thought it was-
Oakland asses.
I thought it was athletics.
Gosh. And
Wow. Huh.
the offense
wrong.
is fine. I don't have a ton of issues. Like, they weren't great. They weren't bad. They had a whole bunch of almost bombs. Like Nick Lofton, great. You got your first home run. That was like, I think I saw a funny tweet from Kay. I think it said that was my first ever CNI home run because like, it just got through the little height.
Yeah, that's great. The wall jumps up 6 feet.
Adam Frazier was actually close, but they brought in Scott Alexander, former Royal, for that lefty, and Frazier gave that thing a ride. Would have tied the game up, just didn't quite get all of it. I didn't have a huge issues with the offense. It was nice seeing Sally bounce back with a couple of hits after his extended slump. Sam Long, yet again, going out there, didn't have his best stuff, and he still put up a scoreless inning, which was nice to see. I was angry last night. I was, because after all the talk of you finally got through the hard stretch, you had a day off. It wasn't like you went directly into this series. You had a day off. You had a travel day. You were there, able to settle back in, hopefully rejuvenate, get relaxed a little bit. This shouldn't have surprised you. This wasn't you're going directly from Yankees, Dodgers into Oakland and playing. You had a day off. You can't get you're not the Yankees or Dodgers.
Well, here's the thing.
You're not even leading the AL Central. You can't get complacent.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is what took place with the team in last night's game. Baseball happens, as Mick Schaefer likes to say, and there were times last year where the awful Royals beat a good team, and it's like, how do you lose to the awful Royals? Well, you know what? Baseball happens. I don't know if this is a team that went through that 19-game stretch, went through the 12-game stretch of first-place teams in their division, and then got a day off and went, okay, we made it through that stretch. All right. We got a day off. Now we got the A's. Like, I don't know that they did that at all.
I don't think they did.
I mean, it would.
If they would have gone 6 of 3 or 5 of whatever, then yes. But
it would be a sign of a younger, immature team that isn't, ready or doesn't have the experience of competing in every game, really matters.
Getting your ass kicked and only winning 2 games the entire time is not something to celebrate.
Yeah. And so I don't know that happened. I don't know that Alec Marsh just simply let up in that, look what I did against the Yankees, and go out there and rest on his laurels of like, well, now I got the A's, and then just didn't have it, wasn't as locked in. I don't know. Did it take everything out of him to be locked in against the Yankees the way that he was and have a no-hitter through 6, and be brilliant in that game last Thursday, and then show up on a Tuesday in Oakland against a team that's lost 9 straight, and you can't find the strike zone, and you're fighting yourself, and you aren't nearly as sharp as you were. And maybe that's just simply because Alec Marsh can't be that sharp back-to-back starts. Like, it can't be expected for him to be that. If he was that sharp in back-to-back starts or multiple starts in a row, he wouldn't be the 5th starter. He wouldn't be a guy that was fighting to make the rotation out of spring training. Let's hear from Alec Marsh. This is last night post-game against the A's, talking about his outing and what happened out there and giving up the 7 runs.
It was a tough game. I mean, just from the beginning, I figured just not getting ahead in counts, having to come back in counts and leaving things over in the middle of the plate. Overall, I didn't execute well today.
The leadoff walks in the first and then the 4th. So how much do those hurt when you see those come around to score and have those bigger innings?
Yeah, I mean, that just gives them life, I feel like I've been doing a good job this year on not getting those leadoff walks, and had 2 of them today, and you can just see what the damage is, and trying to buckle down and get the next couple of guys out and make good pitches. And every time I make a good one, you'd get the ground ball we needed, and it was just, they just hit it in the right spot, and then the big hit would come for them. So I think all that kind of just gets fixed when you're ahead in counts, and first pitch strikes are a lot better. So that's just going to be the focus coming around. Just really trying to flush that game, for sure.
You get the 3 consecutive strikeouts in that 3rd inning there. How much did that kind of help you going back out into the 4th and where they kind of unraveled?
Yeah, I mean, it was big. I was just trying to limit damage at that point. I think we were down 4 runs, and just trying not to let it get ugly there, and then ended up getting ugly anyways in the 4th inning. But yeah, I was just trying to really buckle down there and get us back in the dugout, regardless of what the game situation was, and trying to get into at least 5th inning and hopefully the 6th, but didn't want to leave our bullpen out there to dry, and that's what happened tonight. So that game's on me. Just got to get back to work and flush that one.
He pitched in 4 innings, not 4 total innings, but he went out there and pitched in 4 innings, and the leadoff man got on 3 of the 4. Start the game a walk, came around to score. 4th inning, start the inning with a walk, the double, and then the home run. As he said, it got ugly. He didn't want the game to get ugly in the 3rd inning. Battled, got 3 strikeouts, and then the next 3 batters all reach and score on the 3-run shot. And at that point, it's 7-2, and you're going, oh. Well, let's see if the Royals can battle back, because there was more of an urgency in that game. It had a little Royals 14-15 feel of you better get something done before the 8th and the 9th, because that's when those guys will be out there, and they did against Urseg. They went out there and they're set up man, and the Royals got a couple of runs, and they made them elevate the pitch count, and MJ Melendez with another phenomenal at bat. In a pinch hit role, as Les, he was on yesterday, and we said, what do you do with MJ Melendez? What's the riddle there with him in the way that he's batting? And he's like, well, I mean, is he better as a pinch hitter? And, he came on and pinch hit for Nelson Velasquez, and what did MJ Melendez at 7 pitch walk?
Yeah. And
fouled off, the slider, and then 3 different pitches, just spit on him and took the walk. And, Fermin comes up and grounds out. Nick Lofton grounds out. It allows the couple of productive outs to happen for you to get 2 runs. It'd be nice for those productive outs to just be productive hits, but that wasn't the case.
They never got the big one. Like they did a good job on the majority of days. You score 5 runs. You do that, you win the game.
Score 5 runs against the A's, I'll take it.
You're normally going to win that game. I'm not really blaming the offense here, and it's crazy. They scored 5 runs, even with Michael Garcia and Bobby Witt going 0 for 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Garcia had the 1 RBI, the ground out RBI, but 0 for 10, 4 strikers between your top two guys to start the lineup off, scoring 5. I mean, they grinded. The bullpen grinded. Bullpen didn't give a single run when they were tasked to come in the 4th. Sam Long got out of it. Altavilla, we needed to see that from him to even probably for him to keep a job. Yeah. Carlos Hernandez.
I'm done with Altavilla.
I'm done with Hernandez, obviously, too. But Chris Stratton, nice to see him continuously kind of keep together this hot streak. Same with Will Smith. It just wasn't going to matter when you have 7 runs in 3. It was going to take a massive offensive output, and it was just a good offensive output.
Yeah, and typically if you say, all right, they got 5 runs against the A's, all right, yeah, that should be enough against a team that's lost 9 in a row, but Alec Marsh did not have it, and that's unfortunate. Let's hear from Matt Quattrero, because he brought up an interesting thing in looking back over the game and saying maybe I should have done something different, which I do like the ability to go and think about, all right, next situation, would I have to change this, as opposed to, somebody does something, I wouldn't change anything. Like, hey, you did this and this and this, and you got arrested and you're serving 10 years in prison. What do you think about it? I wouldn't change anything because I've learned the lessons in life. You wouldn't even change, not doing that at all?
Okay, Jordan Belfer.
You wouldn't change.
So you didn't learn the lesson.
You being a free man, you wouldn't change that. You would do it again. That seems dumb. But here's Matt Quattrero not wanting to get arrested and serve 10 years in prison again in this random example that I used. Post game of the A's, the Royal skipper.
It was a battle. Pitch count got up there. Right from the get-go, walked the leadoff guy. Really bowed his neck there in the second to get the 3 punch-outs. Or no, that was the 3rd. Sorry. But then, thinking about it now, I almost should have probably treated that like a reliever that got out of a high leverage spot. He probably used everything up right there in the 3rd. The pitch count was up near mid-60s, and it was hard work. Stuff looked fine, just didn't command it as well as he normally does.
I know you had, I think, Long up in that inning. You were saying you thought you think maybe you should have brought him in to start the fourth?
Yeah, look, I mean, hindsight, yeah, just the way it worked out and how hard he worked to get out of the third probably would have been the smart thing to do.
What did you think of that inning, though, just with, high stress and then being able to strike out, in the middle of their lineup?
Yeah, well, the first couple hitters, he had 2 strikes, some ground balls that found the hole, just out of the reach, and one of them Bobby was able to get to but couldn't get the guy out. And then, to really show that he could punch guys out there with first and third, nobody out was a big spot for him.
Offensively, you got a couple of runs early and a few late. Do you feel like there was a couple more opportunities out there that you guys wish you could have got back?
I mean, there's always opportunity. Anytime you have the bat in your hand, you have a chance to score. We're hoping to string good at bats together. I mean, we put 100 pitches on him in 5 innings, so we made him work. His fastball played up. We didn't barrel him up early, other than Lofty's home run. But I thought the guys competed well. We just couldn't string things together.
What did you think of Lofton's homer as the first of his career?
Yeah, it was exciting. He was ready to hit. Put a really good swing on that ball. I was really happy for him. I know it's been something that's been, I don't want to say weighing on him, but like, hey, let's get this one out of the way so we can move on.
I think the key for Marsh is just consistency after what he showed last time against the Yankees, and then, coming out today and having to battle a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty consistent. I mean, today was not his best outing for sure, but it's not like a pattern where he's good, bad, that kind of thing. He's been pretty darn good for us, and today just wasn't his day.
I thought it was interesting there when he said, coming out of that third inning, because Sam Long was up and was warming up in the third inning when they had scored 2 runs already, and they had first and third with nobody out, and you got Rooker and Soderstrom and Langoliers coming up, and he's warming up Sam Long at that point and saying that, hindsight, obviously looking back, it's easy to say, well, that was a mistake to leave him in. But he didn't answer somebody's question that said, hey, looking back, Matt, would you rather have gone to a reliever to start the 4th inning where then the manager goes, well, yeah, with hindsight, yeah, I'd love to have done that. Now that I know what the reaction and now that I know what happened, of course I'd like to do it differently. He offered that himself. It wasn't an answer to a question to be a smartass. I'm like, oh, it's a hindsight. And saying, hindsight, knowing how hard he worked in the 3rd inning to get out of that. He ends that 3rd inning with 63 pitches. He had first and third, nobody out. They've already put 2 runs on the board. And it was an 8-pitch strikeout to Rooker. You had 4 different 3-2 pitches. Well, I guess that would be 3 different 3-2 pitches because you'd have 5 to get to 3-2. So you have 3 different 3-2 pitches because I know it was an 8-pitch at bat. So he faced 3-2 with Rooker with first and third, nobody out, 3 different times. A really good hitter. I can't walk this guy and a double bust open the game. So that's as locked in and stress pitches as you're going to have. Then you've got first and third, 1 out. You strike the guy out. First and third, 2 outs, you strike the guy out. And Matt Quattrero going, I should have looked at that as a reliever. I should have said that guy was toast. He did everything he can. He left it out there. He's already thrown 63 pitches through 3 innings. And those last, 16 pitches were as high-stress pitches as somebody's going to have, and he didn't have it anyway before that. I had somebody warming up before that. Why would I think he just all of a sudden fixed it and got it together, and he was going to be fine to come out and start the 4th inning when walk, double, home run happened, and then you take him out of the game? I thought it was interesting that, next time in that situation, maybe Matt Quattrero looks at it and goes, it doesn't have to be specifically with Alec Marsh, but, I remember with Alec Marsh and the A's, and this situation happened where he was struggling, and man, he fought and battled, and he got out of that inning and threw 30 pitches in the inning, and it was only the 3rd inning, but I got to get him out.
Yeah,
I got to treat that as a reliever. I thought it was interesting to hear him say that I should have treated that as a reliever late in the game and just got him out of there.
Yeah, I love that thought process. Again, not even reiterating or coming back to a question, and that was his own thought there. I like that a lot. I didn't think about it at the time, but it does make a lot of sense. Obviously, in a playoff game, that's exactly how you would operate, although you probably wouldn't even let him get to the 3 strikeouts. That would have happened.
Yeah, first and third, nobody out. You're coming in and bringing a strikeout guy. Only the Royals don't have a strikeout guy. The strikeout guy was on the mound.
I know that It's a long season, 162. You want your starter to eat some innings, but throwing him back out there, there's just a good a chance of that happening, if not better, than him all of a sudden figuring out in the fourth and giving you another inning or two. You had an off day. Your bullpen should be relatively fresh. Singer went 6. Obviously, Marsh went 6. I'm trying to think of Cole Reagan's had a nice outing. Your bullpen was relatively fresh at the time. That would have been a moment where you go, you know what, let's go to our bullpen now and get out of this. I feel bad saying it. The A's, they're not good, but you kind of needed that game.
Well, they wouldn't. See, I didn't first guess it because when he came out in the fourth, I didn't think, oh, my God, you're sending him back out there for the fourth.
Yeah, I didn't
maybe other people did, but I didn't have that thought process. I thought, okay, well, he just got those 3 straight strikeouts. Maybe now he's getting locked in. Yeah, he's had some guys that barreled him up. He's had some things that have fallen in. He's had some pitches that were close. He was all around the strike zone in some walks, but, couldn't necessarily find it and hone in. Well, he just did the last 3 batters, so maybe now we've seen Alec Marsh do this. We've seen Seth Lugo do this. We've seen some pitchers give up some early runs, and all of a sudden they go 2 extra innings. And it's like, wow, this guy ended up going, 5 innings and gave up only 4 runs when he gave up 4 runs in the 3rd inning.
Yeah.
And hey, he really battled out there. So I didn't have the thought process of he's at 63 pitches. You got to get him out of there after what just took place in the 3rd. But Matt Quattro's there with the guys watching it up close and looking at it and going, yeah, he was spent after the 3rd inning. He left it all out there in the 3rd.
Accountability.
Yeah.
On Matt's part. He doesn't have to say that. You kind of
exactly.
get around and blame one.
Could say, well, yeah, hindsight being 2020, of course I'd take him out of there. But, he just got the 3 strikeouts, and, it was the tougher part of the lineup that he got the 3 strikeouts there. So, he wanted to go back out there for the 4th. And
he takes it off the player, too, at the same time.
It's like, that was my fault.
It was also 7, 8, 9 who he was going up against. And
right,
so
exactly.
you can make the case there. He walked Nevin in the first guy. There were a couple close pitches. I get that. But 5-pitch walk.
Yeah.
Lawrence Butler's also a lefty coming up who was second in the bat. He had the double off of him. Sam Long, lefty. I know it's really early in the game to be thinking about lefty-lefty matchups, but
Quattrero thinks about it in the first inning, so I don't think it's ever too early for him.
We do bullpen games, too.
Yeah.
So.
True. And my point was you let him face Nevin, cool, but after a 5-pitch walk, again, there were some close pitches, I get it, but after you walked him, you throw in Sam Long, I think, right then and there. I know he's not starting an inning, but Sam Long, as a lefty, is honestly at this point used to not starting an inning as a reliever.
And I think when Matt Quattrero says, I should have viewed it as a reliever, I think your point of the leadoff walk is, okay, well, now he just put himself back in high-stress situation again.
Yeah.
I got to get him out. All right, he just worked out of a high-stress situation. Now Royals are down 2, and now there's a leadoff walk. All right, I gave him a chance to start the 4th. He doesn't have it. I got to go get Sam Long right now, somebody else up. I'm not going to have him face 2 more batters, a double and then a home run, and then go, I should have got him out of there. If there is a second guessing, or a first guessing, I should say, not a Monday morning quarterback, a Sunday afternoon quarterbacking, it would be he worked to get out of the 3rd, then the leadoff walk, putting himself right back into a stressful situation. He didn't have it at that point. He exhausted what was left in the tank because he may not have had a full tank after what he did against the Yankees. No. In that heat, going out there doing what he did in that heat against that lineup to stay locked in and to throw his pitch as often as he did against that lineup, it might have taken enough out of him to where you're going, all right, well, the next time he's out there, I got to keep a close eye. Like if a pitcher goes out there and throws 130 pitches or something like that,
sure,
the manager's always like, well, I got to keep a close eye on this guy. Maybe. And I don't know if that's going to be something they do in the future or something like that, or even if it was part of it. He may not have just simply had it last night, but there could be other things that go along with it because he was brilliant against the Yankees.
Yeah, I personally don't buy his performance against the Yankees all of a sudden drain him 6 games or 6 days after in his next start against the
Totally.
Dylan, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, you pitched.
You're a pitcher.
You pitched in college. So
you pitched in the majors. When you faced the Yankees, what was it like 5 days later for you?
He pitched in college, and so just your thoughts here of you have a tough outing or you face a tough opponent, right?
When you went up against JCCC, the Yankees of the area.
No, but still, let's say you grinded through. You had to be locked in, and 6 days later you play. Does that start linger over into your next one, even though you have a full rotation through?
It really is a case-by-case basis because again, it is not even close to the level of the
I know, but
people. It really is. Like he could have he really could be a guy that, hey, if he does have a longer outing, you have to pull him back because he's more of a middle reliever than an actual starter. Like, he has the stamina to be a middle reliever guy, but not a starter where he's constantly going 7-8 innings. So you kind of just have to know your personnel. And if he is the guy that needs a set amount of innings per week versus, he can just go, then you just kind of got to know that. And it seems like they kind of do know that he is that guy from these comments.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with Cole Reagans tonight, a guy that, can go deep into games. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I'm going to talk a little Chiefs football and a left tackle that's out there on the market. How healthy is he, and how interested would he be in the Chiefs? We'll do that on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Arlington, WHB, Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. He'll be hanging out with us, KSHB 41 sports director. If you didn't know that, he likes to tell everybody when he introduces himself, it's like, hi, Mick Schaefer, I'm the sports director at KSHB 41. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He's like, yes, I manage many different employees. I am their boss. Many employees. In fact, here are their numbers. Please call them and make sure they verify that I am their boss. Thank you. I am the sports director. It's an odd conversation. It's an odd icebreaker and a starter to a conversation, but it's now just something that he does to make sure people know. I mean, it's his prerogative. It's his life if he wants to do that.
Sterling Holmes, rush chair. Damn glad to meet you.
That's what he does. Yep. Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 sports director. Damn glad to meet you.
Did you get the reference or no?
Oh, I did. Yeah, Animal House.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. So, David Bakhtiari was on with Adam Schefter's podcast, and David Bakhtiari said, and I mean, obviously we can take him at his word, but it also would be smart for him to say, I'm not playing the clip, I'm just, we'll play a clip of what he's talking about of who he wants to play with next year, but he's talking about his health in a different clip and said that since having surgery, the way he feels right now is that he's got at least a couple more years left in him now. And recovering from the surgery, that he feels that good, that he's not just looking at, oh, I want to play one more year. It's like, no, I can play a couple of more years, okay? Take him at his word. It'd be smart to say that if you're going to have a team sign you, but the team that is interested in you is also going to have you go through a physical anyway. So they're going to find out on their own with whatever's going on with your knee. But it can get some public support, some public backing from teams that may be in the market for a left tackle. And the Chiefs may be in the market for a left tackle. I don't know. We'll find out come training camp time. If Wanya Morris did not improve to a level of acceptable play as the blind side for Patrick Mahomes, and if Kingsley is not ready to be that guy yet, then they would be in the market for a left tackle. Is David Bakhtiari somebody that they would want? Well, they went down the veteran route in Donovan Smith, so maybe they go down or at least kick the tires on a Bakhtiari. Here he is on Adam Schefter's podcast. This came out this morning, and they talk about where he would like to play next season.
Where could we go that would make that a possibility, David? That's practical. That's real. Are you at liberty to share some potential destinations that you're eyeing, or do you rather keep that quiet?
Well, no, I think, Adam, we have a good relationship. You know what I know already because of everything. So I don't want to spoil any of your surprises. I'll leave that to you. But when people do ask me, I do always tell them, like, where do you want to play? Where are you going to play next? I'm like, I want to play with the next Super Bowl MVP. So whoever the hell that's going to be, I better be with him. So when it's like, oh, do you want to play with this player or that team? I'm like, I just want to be the next Super Bowl MVP. That's it.
That's a good, lofty, realistic goal.
When I first saw somebody quote it, I love it. That's a good, lofty, realistic goal.
Great.
When I first saw somebody quote it, I thought he said, I want to play with the Super Bowl MVP. As in, like, I want to play with the reigning Super Bowl MVP. I want to play. I'm not going to say who that is, but I'd like to play with the Super Bowl MVP. Well, how many Super Bowl MVPs are currently playing right now? Well, you've got Tom Brady recently, not playing. Patrick Mahomes, playing.
Matt Stafford.
Cooper Kupp.
Oh, it's a Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. You could play with him and the Rams. But if I want to play with the Super Bowl MVP, thinking he was talking about somebody that's already won it, that would be Patrick Mahomes. But saying, and it's a great way to put it, wherever I go, I want to play with the next Super Bowl MVP. I want to win a damn Super Bowl. I want to play with the next Super Bowl MVP no matter where I'm playing at. If that's in Carolina, then I want to be playing with the next Super Bowl MVP in Carolina.
You know what it's going to be. He signs with the Titans because they offer them the most money. Whoever offers them the most money. Oh, yeah, baby. Will Levis.
Will Levis, Super Bowl MVP, baby. Come on, man. Super Bowl MVP, Will Levis.
If you don't know something interesting, because I think there's a lot of similarities between two certain players. One is David Bakhtiari. Second one is Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith signed this previous contract. It was up to was it up to $20 million? It was like up to a lot more than we all thought, right? It wasn't a lot of money overall, but the up to was doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's $6.5 million right now. It's a $6.5 million for Tyron Smith, right? That's what I'm looking at right now for him. Over the past 4 seasons, because this is where the comparison comes in. Past 4 seasons, Tyron Smith has played 30 games. 30 games. David Bakhtiari has played, you want to take a guess?
He has not played many games.
25.
Yeah.
So, a lot of concerns with both those guys. In 2020 was the last All-Pro year for David Bakhtiari, All-Pro 2020. Tyron Smith, on the other hand, was actually a second-team All-Pro last year, again, in only 13 games. Contracts probably would be something a little similar. Now, obviously, Tyron Smith is healthy while David Bakhtiari is coming off of a, again, similar to Tyron Smith, 4 straight plagued injury seasons. But again, we know what the upside is with David. The upside with David is All-Pro. But are we looking at him like a Josh Gordon? Like a Justin Ross to an extent where you're like, look how good he was 4 years ago. Well, that was 4 years ago and many injuries ago.
Yeah.
Now, Tyron Smith bounced back and was an All-Pro last year. I think those two guys, to me, are very similar, maybe not style, but very similar types of players to identify here. Great players, great upside, a lot of injuries. We saw Tyron Smith's contract. I wonder what David Bakhtiari would receive on the open market.
Yeah, I would not give David Bakhtiari the Tyron Smith contract.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
So, I mean, even if it's the 1-year deal, $6.5 million is what he's going to get guaranteed, and it can go, you were right, upwards to $20 million if the Jets win the Super Bowl and he meets every other incentive in playing time, et cetera. Pro Bowl, All-Pro, everything that may go along with the incentives. If he hits every single one of them, he can make $20 million this year with the Jets. I would not offer David Bakhtiari that. I'd offer him the incentives. I mean, if he's an All-Pro, great.
I'm giving him the Chase Young deal that he got in New Orleans. It's all incentives basically over the next year and a half, I think 2 years.
I mean, I would give him the Donovan Smith was what, 1 year, $3 million? I'd offer him $3 million. Again, if I feel the necessity to do that. If I get to training camp and I'm seeing, if I'm Andy Heck and Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, and I'm feeling good about what Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia are doing, well, then I may not need to go down the Bakhtiari route. But if an injury happens, then, okay, am I simply moving forward with Wanya Morris and Lucas Niang? Am I moving forward with Kingsley and Lucas Niang? Am I examining whether or not I need to move Jawan Taylor to the left side and put Niang at right? Like, do I need to figure out if Joe Tooney, coming off a pec injury, is going to have to be ready to go and play left tackle in a pinch? So if an injury or something like that happens, then yeah, I think Bakhtiari comes into play. If ineffectiveness or a concern that those guys aren't developing to the way that you want them to be, the left tackle, and you are going to have to coach around them like you did when Wanya Morris was in there, because there was a pretty decent amount of coaching around the issues with Wanya Morris, then, yeah, you can go the Bakhtiari route if that's something you feel like he's good enough to then step in and play that position and play it healthy enough.
So here's Chase Young's deal. Obviously not this much in money, but he gets $13 million in guarantees, so as long as he's active and healthy for all 17 games.
Okay.
So if you did, like you said, you're not trusting what you have already, and you do have to this is a little emergency plan, you could write him this kind of deal where it's like, hey, you have to be on the field the entire season. You can't just say, well, it's turf at this place, so I don't want to play. He's kind of had that deal where he's like, I don't really like the turf fields, and he's had these knee issues that keep re-aggravating.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, with Bakhtiari, I wouldn't even need a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro incentive in there. It would be playing time. It would be snaps.
Total playing time, yeah.
Well, for me, where I'm at here is Donovan Smith's your floor guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's your floor guy. David is your upside guy. But the Chiefs already have 2 guys, young guys, that I think that they believe are the upside guys. But I would also argue, I think Wanya Morris is more of a floor dude, while Kingsley's your upside guy. I know everyone has remembers Wanya Morris at left tackle against the Raiders. He got his ass kicked by Khalil Mack. No two ways around it. He got his ass kicked by Khalil Mack, and
many players do.
Join the club, yeah.
And whoever the other guy was. Point is, we're acting like that was who he is as a player. And I don't understand this. I've said for the longest time, tackles and edge rushers, you see the biggest improvement from year 1 to year 2. Andrew Thomas is always the name I go to. That's a little unfair because I'm not saying Wanya Morris is going to be Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas was a top 5 guy. The point is, a guy who was that talented, who's now an all-pro, his rookie year was atrocious and Giants fan called him a bust. The point is, he was a 3rd-round pick, most likely going to be a right tackle, got inserted at left tackle and got his ass kicked by Khalil Mack that everyone else does. Yeah. Why are we acting like that's who he is?
I don't know that people are acting like that's necessarily who he is, but I think there's a healthy level of skepticism of the 3rd rounder that can then slide in and be Patrick Mahomes left tackle when you're protecting a $500 million guy, an investment, and they draft Kingsley Suamata'i in the 2nd round to give them an option.
Yes.
This guy, like you said, Kingsley looks like more of the ceiling. He can be great with all the traits, but he has to develop some of those things. And Wanya Morris, he's already been a year in the system. I think what the difficulty of like a Wanya Morris who has a bad game is a little bit different than, let's say, a wide receiver that may have a bad game. Like, we may think of a wide receiver that has a bad game, they drop a couple of passes. Oh, man, rough game, drop a couple of passes. A bad game for a wide receiver also can be no targets. And you might be, well, that might not have been part of the game plan or this or that, whereas the coaches may go and look at it and it's like, you were in the wrong spot here. Well, you were supposed to get the target there, but you took that route 5 yards too deep. That's a bad game for this guy. He got graded out terribly by the coaches that next day. It's a bad game, but we don't see that bad game. A left tackle having a bad game, it's right there front and center.
Sure.
Because it's always in the screen until the quarterback throws the football or the running back is running down the field that the offensive line is no longer in the screen. The wide receivers leave the screen, and it's the offensive lineman and your quarterback, and that's what you're watching. And when that guy's getting his butt beat constantly, it's like, good God, man, this guy is terrible. Or there are times when the Chiefs have to then scheme around that and offer help with Tooney or offer help with a tight end or go the other way or do some certain things that they feel like they can get from Wanya Morris, who was a much better run blocker than he was a pass blocker, whereas Donovan Smith was really good in pass protection but was not nearly as good in the run blocking aspect of that. Can Wanya Morris improve in the pass blocking? Because the run blocking, I think, is already good enough to be a left tackle in the NFL. Pass blocking has a long way to go to be good enough consistently in the NFL. And if they don't see the improvement from that and they're not getting what they want to see from Kingsley, well then, yeah, Donovan Smith and David Bakhtiari should be on speed dial.
My point is, long-term, I think the best Chiefs offensive line is Wanya at right tackle, Kingsley at left tackle. But I'm not talking about 2026. I'm talking about 2024. In 2024, I think right now, as it sits, I trust Wanya more. I think he's your floor guy. I trust him game over game right now, more so. And we'll see. Maybe Kingsley just surprises all of us. I've just been high on Wanya. And we'll see. If they bring in either Donovan Smith or David Bakhtiari, to me, that screams Wanya and Kingsley have not been what they expected, at least this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Doesn't say anything about their long-term future. I don't want people to freak out.
No.
It screams 2024, not 2026. But in the business of we have to overanalyze everything, you know how it's going to go down if either David or Donovan, we see him come in either during or after training camp.
Yeah, I don't mind Wanya Morris as a backup right tackle if that's where he ends up being behind Juwan Taylor. But he's not better than Juwan Taylor.
Oh, not this year, no.
Okay. I thought you said this year.
2026.
I'm sorry. I thought you said Wanya Morris is the best right tackle right now.
No,
Wanya
left
Morris
tackle. I meant left tackle this year.
Okay, so
on the current roster. My point is going into 2024.
Because you said Wanya Morris at right tackle, Kingsley at left tackle.
In 2026.
Okay, my bad.
Then this year, I think it makes most sense to have Wanya as the starter because I think the floor is there.
Oh, yeah,
you let Kingsley work through the rookie struggles. That's just my personal preference. But with Juwan's contract, I think it's not until 2026 till you really see potentially Wanya at right.
I thought you were saying you hate Juwan so much that Wanya Morris should be the starting right tackle.
No. Juwan Taylor is the best right tackle right now on this.
Yeah, when do we get Chris Collinsworth on this show?
I don't know, guys. This guy at right tackle, he's never online. All right, wrapping up this hour. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer in the next hour. If you're wondering about the College World Series elimination game, Florida and Kentucky playing right now, Kentucky's going to have to get the bats going if they're going to win this one. They are down 15-4. It's a bloodbath there. 15-4, Florida in the 7th inning. I'm going to guess that Florida's going to stay alive. I think Florida's going to be able to hold on here. Can they protect an 11-run lead in the last 3 innings, Florida? I don't know. Can Kentucky come back from being down 15-4 in an elimination game?
Rockies couldn't last night.
That's right. That's right. All right, we'll take a timeout. We will come back, and we'll hang out with Mick Schaefer coming up next. He's the sports director at KSHB 41, I guess. Typical gate. You did not slip there at all. There was no banana peel out there. Is Briscoe? Is Shane around? Where's Beards? Beards is still drunk from the Celtics winning on Monday night, so he's still toasted. He hasn't woken up since then. He might, he might actually be shaved, not even realizing what he did. He got a tattoo and shaved his beard after the Celtics.
Well, he has
won.
multiple beards. It was always plural, so there's probably other beards.
Oh, good point.
Other
Well, he's
places.
married.
Where?
Weird beard. Like I just saw your weird beard.
I know, right? Hey, dude.
Is
by the
Corey
way-
back? Can we? Are you done now? Corey's
the way,
back.
Oh,
why?
I guess I'm
you know
done.
what Corey
Why
never
are-
did? You know what Corey never did? He never took his shirt off in front of me.
I don't ever remember
What's
Corey
the-
wearing a zip-up jacket halfway zipped up.
Yeah, you could zip that up more.
You could zip it up a little more.
It's hot. It's toasty. Okay.
It's not hot, nor is it toasty.
Backstory. I said hi to someone in the break room, and I apparently startled them because they turned around and unbeknownst threw coffee. It was like out
I
of
didn't
a...
throw it on you.
Not on me. Well, it got on me.
It spilled. There's a
Covered.
spot on your shirt.
A lot of... And there was creamer, so it's sticky. I'm not wearing a sticky shirt around here, okay?
So I'm. It's not as covered as you said it
Not
was.
even
But there's a good amount.
But I get you not wanting to wear that shirt.
I
I'm
don't.
more invested in what happened after that.
Well, all I
because
had-
you continue walking down the hall, your shirt is off. You have a plate full
Yeah.
of food.
Tarp's
You're
off.
walking down the hall. You come into the studio. You set your plate down with your shirt off. I'm like, what are we doing?
I
here?
don't think you've emphasized enough the
What are we
fact that
doing
he
here?
was walking down the hall here at the office with his shirt
with
off.
his shirt off.
He
Tarp's
didn't,
off.
He didn't just come in here to the studio and go in like a corner
No.
and quickly take his shirt off and put a jacket on halfway zipped up.
And they ran his a little errand with the shirt off.
Yeah.
Explained the story to me right here. Like I'm sitting
the
down
shirt
too.
off.
I'm nipple height. And with the shirt still off.
Do you go to the
and then
pool?
he goes back. I go to the pool when it's at the pool.
yeah,
yes.
I'm more.
At work, my clothes stay
What's
on.
wrong with Tarp's off?
And then you go
You're at
back
work.
to get the
Who
shirt.
cares?
A
You
lot
go
of people
back-
care. Most
you
everybody
could
in the
have
office
gone-
cares.
You could have gone directly.
You could take your shirt. I don't
No,
give a
I don't
hoot.
want to.
Not a hoot nor a holler's given. Like, you guys are
But
prudes.
why didn't you go directly to where your shirt was? Quickly change, not in front of people.
I had
yeah.
And
things
then
in my
finish your day.
hands. I got to put all my donuts down.
Hold on.
Yes.
So hold on. You had things in your
And a
hand.
water.
Well, hold
But
on.
you got your shirt off somehow.
Yeah, exactly. You had things in your hand when you left said break room with coffee
that
on
shirt
shirt.
off?
I didn't have. Well, now I don't know.
Is it a tearaway shirt? Is
Yeah,
that a
but-
T-shirt?
Yeah, it's
It
just
was
tear
a
away.
rips away like the old
Tear
school
away.
NBA pants.
So warm-ups.
Well,
just ripped it right off.
I didn't know it was gonna be such a big deal made out of me switching shirts in the studio.
I feel like
apparently that's a big
I feel
deal.
This whole thing was set up. You wanted to walk around
So
with your shirt
you
off.
think that I wanted coffee spilt so I could rip the shirt off?
100%.
No, I don't think you were looking for coffee to be spilled. I think you were looking for an excuse
You were
to
looking
walk
for an
around the
excuse. I've
office
met
with
guys
your
like
shirt
you,
off
yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah.
I didn't see a single person. Why would I want to do that?
Well, that
Well,
doesn't.
I mean,
then
I
walk
saw
around.
you.
Then walk around
Am I
naked.
not a
Mick, I
person
don't
just-
care.
Would you walk around naked? Well, I didn't see a single person.
I mean,
well, yeah, you didn't plan.
I'd be comfortable.
You do have a drop of coffee on your pants, which is only about.
Mick, why are you? Why are you? Why are
three
you
drops
pressing your luck?
less than what's on your?
You
Exactly.
can look at. There was a fairly large.
It was a spot.
circle.
You
the
looked
story
like you
started that your shirt was covered.
Okay, the floor
You
was
might have
covered.
said drenched at one point.
Yeah. You're. It looks like you're lactating.
Okay,
That's it.
okay, but it's
and,
sticky.
and it's natural,
It's
and you're with
sticky.
child. It's nothing to be
sticky.
ashamed
there
of.
Was, there was
you
creamer in the guy's coffee, and so I'm not naming names because I don't want. I felt bad. I
What's your
obviously
fault?
scared.
You startled him.
I startled the man.
So
I
it's
just,
your fault.
All I said was, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then he turned around.
You
and,
said, "Hey, what's up, man?"
"No, I did not do that."
I don't know.
I knew a guy like him back in college. He was like a scrawny dude, but then he started lifting a lot of weights,
Oh, the
getting
worst.
buff.
Yep.
And he at parties he would look for an
Yep,
excuse
just
all the
the
time
worst.
to tear his tarp off. Tarp's off, boys.
Did you remind him that, hey, you don't look like in person what you look like in a
the
mirror?
mirror. The lighting's
Oh,
always better.
I don't
Just,
give a hoot.
I'm not
what I
talking about
look
you.
like.
I'm talking
I
about.
did.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about shirts off buff guy in college.
Right.
I'm not buff.
And now we could tell. And so
Yeah, you've
I've
shown us this.
I've
Yes, you've
I've
left
met
nothing to the
people
imagination.
like that before.
like it?
The zipping up of the jacket would be
still
okay. It would be
possible.
fine if you did that. I'm not
It's
sure.
just toasty in here. I'm just showing you.
It's toasty, but you haven't rolled up your sleeves
It
or
doesn't
anything.
really go any higher. They're kind of tight. Look,
It's
look,
toasty
look how
in
tight
here.
it is.
You're wearing a sweater jacket but it's toasty in here with a hood.
If I'm
but
allowed
yet
to go shirts off, I will do it. I will unzip this, and I will do the rest of the show.
The 3 inches of a jacket zip that you are failing to do is the difference between you sweating or not sweating. I don't see that be the
Graham
case.
Benzinger is one of those guys. You know, on In Depth, he always shows up after Sunday Sound Off.
That's
Graham
right.
Benzinger.
I've heard of him.
Half the shows, he'll want to work out with the guy or
Of
jump in a
course.
pool and he'll
Always.
just rip his shirt off in like almost about half the episodes.
So it's not my
But Graham's
fault
a
you
great
guys
guy.
are scared of taking your shirt off. I don't have. I'll show what I got.
Now we're getting to it.
I'm more scared of the employee handbook. That's
right.
Kind of
Yeah, well, I know. St.
HR,
There's
come
no,
on
there's
now.
no employee
What
handbook.
Lebo's gonna say? Hey, man, you can't
He's
do that
typing
anymore.
one up right now.
Yeah, but you're like, who's against me walking around the office with my shirt off? I think a lot of people.
Everybody.
It was a 5-foot walk.
Bethany, should we ask Bethany?
See, look, she walked with her hand over her eyes so she didn't have to look at you.
Hey,
she was just doing
Do
that.
you want to see Sterling with his shirt off?
Oh yeah, right. You were walking with your hand over your eyes so you didn't have to look at Sterling's, chest hamburger meat.
That's not
his weird beard.
His weird
pepperonis.
beard. Yes, right.
I always get dragged into these shows somehow.
Well, I mean, we've
Sterling
gotten
was walking around with his shirt off. Do you
in the
do you
hallway.
encourage that?
He was walking down the hallway with his shirt off.
Shirt's there.
Absolutely not.
Thank you. So we found one person who would be against that. Well, the first person we talked to.
But like it's not that big
Literally
a deal,
the
though,
first
right?
person.
Like it's not that big a deal.
Clearly, we would prefer you not do it.
Sterling, we have torn up the rundown. What we were planning on doing for this segment, it's lost. It's gone now.
I would definitely be contacting HR.
We don't
There
have
you
HR. We're fine. We're fine.
It's Todd.
Todd,
Lebo.
He's
Todd,
HR.
did you
He's,
need a-
he's maintenance.
Need a talking to.
The engineer.
My
He's the
point was,
therapist.
we can leave it here. My point was, I got coffee spilt on me. It's sticky.
Yeah.
Okay, because they put
Yeah.
creamer in it. I needed to change shirts.
You could have gone right to the shirt.
Is it not
With
sticky
one
if there's
shirt
no
on,
creamer?
and then you take it off, you put the other shirt on, and then this.
It's
none
fine.
of us would have known.
I
think you wanted
You
us
guys
to
are
know.
making this a bigger deal than it really needs to be.
I feel like the guy walking down the hall with a plate full of donuts with his tarp
A
off.
plate. It was one donut. It was odd donuts.
But it was a small plate, so it was a plate full.
I didn't have a plate. It was actually a napkin.
The napkin
You could
full.
use a few less donuts after seeing what I just saw.
Hey.
Any segue at this point would work. Any segue to sports.
Anyway.
That works. There you go. I did it.
Anyway, that's a great segue right there. That was fantastic.
You know what?
Yes.
The Olympic swimmers at the trials last night, they had their tarps off.
Yeah,
They
right.
had
Doing
tarps
it at
off all the
Lucas
time.
Oil Stadium too. That's awesome.
They do that? Really?
Yeah, like the entire trials are inside Colt Stadium.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's really
Where
cool.
the combine is.
Yep, combine.
And you proved
where
you
they
probably yell at him and tell him to put a shirt on.
Yeah, but the combine is where they practice and get ready for the NFL draft. The NFL draft goes to different cities, and the Chiefs draft players to go and play at Arrowhead, which may be in Kansas, Mick. Moving forward.
There it is.
Can you
Segues there.
believe that?
I can believe that.
Star
Because Casey
bonds.
Moe and Jackson County screw stuff up.
So what do you make of last night's vote or yesterday afternoon's vote? The exact numbers ended up being with Congress overall. So with the Senate and the House, it was 111 to 46 in favor of the Star bonds.
We found
passing.
something that brings people across the aisle, right?
That's right.
Unites the blue and the red, the Dems and the Republicans. It was an easy one, right? Not no other issue out there, right? Easy stuff like should puppies live, right? Do we like old people?
Yeah.
I don't think we would have that much of a consensus.
Because I need to know what the fine print of should puppies live. Yeah. I mean, are they living in my house?
What kind of pork are you throwing on this puppies living bill? Okay?
Should they live in my neighborhood? Like, what does it mean by live? Are you meaning like live like be alive, or live in a specific area?
Live golf. It's live golf.
Is there a
You've
tax
convinced me.
break for my constituents
You've
if the
convinced
puppy
me.
lives?
I'm against it until I hear more.
Yeah.
So I'm voting no.
I just want to know the tax incentives for the constituents that I represent by these puppies living. Because it sounds like there's going to be tax dollars going to help said puppies live, and I'm not sure that needs to go away from what happens in my district.
It's gonna be a tight vote on there. The puppies living.
Puppies living, yes or no? It's 50.5 to 49.5, and we don't even know which way it's going to swing.
And what's hilarious is that you guys are totally right, but it's only for one state. So now another state just hates this state, so
true.
it's not exactly bipartisan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
no, all the Republicans and Democrats in Missouri hate all the
There you go.
Republicans
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Democrats in Kansas.
Way to be positive.
They're together on that.
Hey, so Mayor Lucas said border war. So are we allowed to say, when Mizzou plays Kansas, that it's now a border war
We
instead
should.
of the border showdown or
Yeah.
the border brigade.
I would go farther. Border world war is what I would call it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Strong words from Mick.
Mayor Lucas said the border war truce was brought back, and really what was brought back was the term border war for the games.
Well,
so
and
that
then,
terminology has been
and he kept
brought back.
using, I love Q, but he kept using the word poach. And I'm like, are they poaching when you've said no, right? You've said no. It's only once, but you've said no to these teams. I feel like at that point the door should be cracked open a little bit.
Well, my point on the border war truce thing, because Frank White had the same statement about, well, we agreed in 2019 not to be taking businesses from one side or the other, and it falls.
What if that business wants to move from one side to the other?
But it falls on a deaf ear for me, in that, at what point would the Chiefs and Royals be allowed to go to Kansas? Because your citizens voted no. So is it one more try at the ballot? Is it two more tries at the ballot? Or is it Jackson County or Salt Lake City? Those are the choices. You can't go to Kansas because you can't take, there's a border war truce, so you can't go over to Kansas. We have to keep them in Jackson County. Well, if you say no three more times, now can Kansas step in? Like, what's the point? Like, you had an opportunity to make sure that they did not go to Kansas. The voters resoundingly said no. We are not going to approve this particular deal. Not that we're going to make them go to Kansas, but this particular deal we
Kansas
are saying no
is
to.
giving them an option to stay in the area as well. So there's a part of this to where, like, okay, we're helping you out a little bit to where they're not going to go to Salt Lake. This team isn't going to go to Nashville, right? And I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. But, I mean, yeah, that's not poaching to me. Like, you had your chance. They said no. Like, okay, we're going to be an option over here. And ultimately, it's at the want of the Royals and the Chiefs.
Well, Jason Probst from Hutchinson, representative that talked yesterday.
Go Salt Hawks.
Yeah, he said he was a reluctant yes. And the reluctant yes was, didn't feel like there was enough in there for, different areas of the state. Like, there were different reasons. But his reasoning at the end is why he said, I'm going to hold my nose and vote yes, is because ultimately the Chiefs and Royals will stay in the metropolitan area. So even me representing Hutchinson, the Chiefs and Royals stay in Kansas City, in the area, Kansas side, whatever. I'll hold my nose and vote yes, even though I feel like they're
N-O-S-E, hold that nose, or N-O''S, those nose? Both.
Yes,
maybe
I guess.
Both. It works either way.
Quite literally, both of them, yes. I think he's going to quite literally hold his nose.
Or K-N-O-W-S.
While also withholding his no.
Yes.
And voting yes in doing that. But his point was, there are so many things that I would vote no for on this, unknowns. But the fact is, the Royals and Chiefs would stay here with this. I'm voting yes. Let's get to a lot of details that, obviously you'd want to fight for or see involved. But that, to me, was yesterday's vote, is that the Chiefs and Royals have a real viable option to stay in the Kansas City metropolitan area, which is what Clark Hunt said last Thursday, and that, yes, they're open to staying anywhere in the metropolitan area. And if that's Kansas, it's Kansas. If it's Missouri, it's Missouri. It's just no idea what it's going to look like in Missouri. At least now, there's a pretty decent idea. We just don't know where it specifically will go, what the total cost would be, what the district around that will be, what the Chiefs will have to put in for this, because that depends on the total cost, because it's 70% of the overall project can be covered with the Star bonds. So $2 billion, the Chiefs are going to have to put in $600 million of their own money to get a brand new stadium and to get an entertainment district around them, which I think they would gladly do, as opposed to $300 million to renovate Arrowhead Stadium. They would gladly double the money that they would invest to get the bells and whistles, et cetera. But to me, that was yesterday, was at a minimum, I feel confident the Chiefs and Royals are not going anywhere. I didn't think they were anyway. But on April 3rd, that Wednesday, my point was, if the vote was yes, they weren't going anywhere. But a vote no, they're more likely to leave on that Wednesday than they were on Tuesday. Maybe it's 0.0001, but the fact remains they were more likely.
Yeah. I still think if I had to say one way or the other, I think Jackson County makes another push and they end up staying there.
Interesting.
But I think it's maybe a coin flip now. I thought it was maybe 75-25 in that direction before yesterday. I had heard 5 locations the Chiefs had looked at on the Kansas side. So I don't know if that's like 4 of those are right around the Legends. It's one corner of I-35
Different
and
block areas.
435 and 70, or if it's separate, separated by countryside and miles and all that stuff. But I had heard that. And certainly the Chiefs seem a lot more eager about the prospects of Kansas than they do. Just look at the drawings of renovating and staying in Jackson County.
I'm much more bullish on that. I put it at 80-20 they moved to Kansas.
Kansas?
Yeah, I put it at 80. And I don't think it's, doubling down on what I said the day after the vote when I said, my prediction on that Wednesday, was April, I think Tuesday was April 2nd. So that Wednesday, I said, moving forward, what I'm predicting now is the Chiefs end up in Kansas and the Royals still end up downtown. Are they at the crossroads? I don't know. But they're still going to fight because I think John Sherman, above all else, wants a downtown stadium. The Chiefs want the best deal. And wherever that ends up being, they're a destination site. They're not a place that's sort of casual.
You don't need to catch foot traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. Where the Royals do. I think they moved downtown, and I think the Chiefs moved to Kansas. And that was without knowing anything about the Star bonds and
sales tax,
revenue. Yep. From specifically the area, the development that then goes to pay back the investors that are investing in the bonds. There are some potential negatives to the whole thing. Could be. Prairie Fire was not great. Didn't work out. Hasn't worked out.
That was Star Bonds?
That was Star Bonds.
I like Prairie Fire. It's fun. There's some good spots there.
Yeah, but they are not paying back those Star Bonds. The Legends area has been a success. And the racetrack, it's been a success so far. And I think it would be the same thing with this because you are putting a stadium there. You are offering a destination for people to go to and spend their money to then pay that back over 30 years, those that have invested in the Star bonds, which, the Chiefs could probably invest a little bit as well in those particular Star bonds. But at minimum, it gives them an option of staying in the Kansas City metropolitan area, which is the most important thing. Above all else, stay in Kansas City. I can't stand the border war truce aspect of it because when's the embargo lifted?
Yeah. What's the rules on that?
Right. You can't take because also like Frank White talked about.
I don't care that we've said no and that the teams want to move. That's poaching.
Right. But Frank White also, mentioned like it's not creating. You can't take a business or whatever and move over to Kansas, and when it doesn't create jobs or a community benefit or whatever. I'm like, if I'm the Chiefs, I could argue pretty strongly that it does create more jobs because renovating would create jobs for those in construction that were working on that. Building new, there are more people working, and if you're building restaurants and hotels, you are literally creating jobs that would not be there in renovating Arrowhead Stadium.
Not just the building of it. You have those new businesses.
You've created jobs
there, yes.
You've created jobs by moving that business over there.
By the way, as of November 2020, over $1.1 billion in Star bonds have been issued overall. There's been 13 different Star bond districts, all the way as far as Dodge City, some in Wichita. So it's not. I just wanted to just see all the ones they have. Salina Downtown Project, Manhattan Flint Hills Discovery Center, Topeka Heartland Park Racetrack. Obviously, the biggest one was the Kansas City Village West. That was $725 million. The Prairie Fire was 65, but there's some big ones also out west too. Just like the Wichita River District was $60 million. So just some interesting different ones they've done with the Star bonds.
This one had to be like those are typically 50%, that the Star bonds would cover 50% of the project, and this is voted on because it had to go up to 70%. Yeah. Originally 75, but negotiated down to 70 with those that were dissenting on including the Star bonds there.
So this was again as of November 2020. This is the latest one I have. This is actually from the Kansas website. $1.1 billion in total bonds has been issued, and it looks like $873 million in tax revenue has been used to pay off this debt. So that's as of 2020. So
yeah, it's
fairly liquid then, I guess, as far as not a whole bunch of debt from this.
Sure.
It's just a matter of like if it defaults, okay, does that affect the credit rating of the state? The one thing I would have a question with, and this is sort of not necessarily conspiracy theory, but down the line and knowing how politics works, you get a powerful person that invests in the Star bonds for the Chiefs, and it starts to default, and they're losing money. And it's like, well, the Star bonds, if it loses money, it's on the investors. It's not on the taxpayers. Whereas maybe there's some throwing some weight around of, hey, maybe you can get this taken care of with the state to supplement some of the people that have invested, because I give a lot of money to your campaign.
Yeah.
And that money can dry up because I'm losing it in the store. So what do you say maybe you fight a little bit for maybe some tax dollars to go and supplement some of the star bond investors? That would certainly be a concern if you're doing that. But again, that's sort of politics down the line if it doesn't even work out. And I think it will work out because I think it's going to draw people.
The best team in the NFL with what's always been one of, if not the best fan base that shows up at 5 a.m., right, to tailgate all day long, all day and night long at a place where there's nothing there, right? I don't see how that would fail when you do that same thing and you have a lot of things around there.
Well, and if the Chiefs are smart, they typically are smart businessmen, but if they do build a hotel and develop that and get into some sort of an agreement with, like the Braves did a 50-50 split with the Omni. So if you're going to do a deal and a partnership with something like that, I think to attract people outside of Chiefs games, it would be hey, you stay at this hotel. There's also a tour that we're having of Arrowhead. So you're coming for the race at Kansas Speedway from out of town. Hey, let's stay at the Arrowhead Hotel, and then we'll go check out Arrowhead for a little bit, and then we'll go over to take an Uber over to the race or a shuttle or whatever.
That Mattel theme park.
Yes, the Mattel theme park. Let's stay at the Arrowhead Hotel, and we'll go check that out, and then we'll take a shuttle or an Uber over there, and now you're getting people staying there more round year rather than just on those dates that the Chiefs are playing or concerts.
The Braves Stadium did that when they originally opened, because I went to the new Atlanta Braves Stadium. When did it open? 2014-ish? Around there, 20, whatever it was around there. My dad and I went. They weren't actually playing a game, but they did tours of the stadium, which was really cool. You get a nice, kind of go down and just check everything out.
Just open for anybody, or if you stayed at the Omni?
I don't remember where we stayed at. I was probably in high school.
See, I didn't know if it was like connected, like, okay, you stay here, now you get like a 50% discount for this particular tour.
I assume we were close.
Something along those lines to incentivize somebody staying there out of season.
I just know that I thought it was a really cool idea, and it's definitely something that they could do to try and, again, generate some revenue back. A small amount, but some revenue back of the tourism aspect of it.
I don't know the exact mileage. It's about 4 to 5 miles, but it feels like they are coming close to just connecting from, like, Sandstone to that Mattel park, and then east of there could be where that stadium goes, and then you run into the Legends and the racetrack and everything and just have this huge 4 to 5 miles /
because traffic
entertainment
doesn't
district.
suck at Sandstone already, man. I mean, that's going to be
brutal.
just
And,
brutal.
Sunflower Hills out there is going to really be popping.
Oh yeah,
I haven't gone to
the golf course.
I haven't gone to Sandstone since I was in 7th grade.
It is tough.
It's a long time ago, by the way.
Dude, I went to a Turnpike concert out there.
So did I.
It
last
took
year.
I went last year too, but the thing,
What? Did you guys sit together?
Did not.
I think the year prior I went, it took us 2 hours to get out. No Ubers will work. Your phones won't work out there because there's so many people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to
Makes
walk
sense.
towards the casino. We got nearly to the casino before we could actually get an Uber ride. So if you
Why don't
think
you just walk
parking's
home the rest of the way? Seems like you could save some money. You've walked that far. You're pot committed, it seems like.
Was your shirt on or off?
Yeah, that's a great question. Were you
It was,
sweating at all?
it was unbuttoned a good amount, probably.
Yeah. Is that zipper getting lower?
Does it not work? Is that the highest?
The highest
is it
it goes,
stuck?
boys.
The zipper stuck.
Highest
I
it
knew
goes,
I
boys.
knew it. We'll take a timeout. Come back. More Zone next. percentage of the Chiefs moving to Kansas. Let's start with you. What do you think the percentage of the Chiefs moving to Kansas after the Star Bonds yesterday, sir?
Probably about 75%.
75.
Oh, man, I missed that voice.
75% for what the hell? By God, that's Corey's sound of his voice.
I really don't think it's 75%. I have no clue. I don't keep up with this stuff anymore. So.
They got bigger things out in Utah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
Are we going to get them in Salt Lake City?
I was going to say,
families.
here's the thing. If the Star Bonds fall through and Missouri doesn't come through, it might be the Salt Lake City Chiefs.
Hey,
huh?
we're getting hockey teams. You know, we can handle the Chiefs if they want to come up to. No, I want them to stay here.
Well, that's nice of you.
Yeah. But I don't care where they play.
Yeah.
Kansas or Missouri. I mean, it really.
Or Oklahoma.
Makes-
maybe Oklahoma State can move to Salt Lake City. The conference isn't. People are moving all
They're
the
going
time.
to be visiting, at least.
That's right.
Utah and BYU.
And
so,
BYU.
yeah.
Tough schedule.
Yeah. Are you going to go to any of those games?
Oh, yeah. We'll be at those.
Question: with Corey back, am I now fired?
I'm sorry.
Am I now
Yes.
done?
Sorry.
Or,
Who are you?
Just for the next 25
Well,
minutes.
with Corey back and you walking around shirtless, that was those are the final
combination.
two straws.
I will say, Corey would rock some flip flops from time to time. Never shirtless.
Never
though.
shirtless.
Never shirtless.
that's actually surprising.
I
I
spilled
thought he would
coffee
do-
on my shirt, so how about I unzip
I
a
didn't,
jacket
I
and
didn't
show
spill
you guys
coffee
all
on
my
mine.
breasts.
Someone else spilt it on me. Okay?
Oh, somebody spilled coffee on me. Here's my nipples. Like, I don't know that that's the
Do you want to see the drenched shirt?
reasonable. Oh,
Well, it's
yeah.
probably dry now. It's been 45 minutes.
No, it doesn't dry. If it's drenched, it can't dry that fast.
Oh, we
Drenched.
will rebuild.
Wow.
Rebuild.
We can't.
You had to take that off?
It's sticky. There's creamer on it. Someone had creamer in there.
You got creamed?
He's actually talking with the production and the promotions department about getting a shirt that says Sterling Strong because of him being,
bracelets. Yeah, I'm
that's
gonna
right.
sell. Well, I'm gonna keep all the proceeds, of course, but
Sterling Strong, unbelievable.
We have
man.
a
There's
general assignment
spot
reporter on our way here now to do a story on you tonight for the 10 o'clock show.
of what you have to go through by being here.
you keep bringing it up, not me.
Well, technically, Corey brought
Because
that
he's
one up.
staring at your chest hair.
Yeah, I mean, I am
Like,
looking
just pull the
direct-
zipper up 3
right,
inches.
Just do it. Come on.
Just
You
zip
do
it
that.
up.
Sterling, you know what 3
That's
inches
a
looks
small
like.
3 inches,
Pull it up.
Corey. Look,
God, welcome back.
Yeah, you can measure
That's
twice.
better.
You know what 3 inches is. You can measure twice.
Yeah.
feels free.
Oh, now now he's
Feels-
taking it off.
Feels right.
Heard that? Yes, you heard that. Royals in action tonight at 8:40 with Cole Reagans on the mound. I don't even know where to go at this point, except
Don't lose
for-
the A's again. How about that? Stupid.
Don't lose the A's or lose to the
Lose
A's?
to the A's.
Because what
Kansas
you're
City's
saying
done
is
both.
don't lose the A's again. I thought you were saying as in going to the
They
Star
already
Bond
lost
issue.
the A's, then they
Right.
lost to the A's.
I thought that's what you were talking
last
about.
night.
Since Sean Tarwater yesterday said Missouri is known for losing professional franchises, which is a low blow, but also not really.
Inaccurate.
Have they lost 4?
Well, they had bad owners.
I feel like lots of states have lost
Yes.
teams over time. Yeah.
Georgia loses teams. You know, I mean, Kroenke was going to leave St. Louis no matter what St. Louis did.
They're the L.A. Lakers. Name a lake in L.A.
Lake L.A.
Lake Los Angeles. Ricky Lake. She lives there still.
There it is.
Nice job, dude. Well done.
Name 2.
Mr. Lake, Ricky's husband.
Depends on which diet she's on. She might qualify.
Oh my God, dude, really?
Corey's back. Corey's back. He makes
That's
me do
not.
it.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, Mick. I can't believe that. Charlie Finley. No, that Missouri lost the A's, or he just sucked. I mean, they didn't lose the Royals or the Chiefs because Kaufman and Hunt didn't want to go anywhere. They wanted to stay here, so they didn't lose them. Kroenke was leaving no matter where they were, no matter what happened with St. Louis. He didn't even offer East St. Louis or Illinois. Like, it wasn't Missouri, St. Louis, or we're going to move over to Illinois. Like, at least the Chiefs and the Royals are saying we want to stay in the area. I think they've had some bad owners, Missouri has. So I think it's unfair, I think inaccurate, and a low blow to say that, well, Missouri's known for losing sports franchises. Do you really want to leave the future of the Royals and the Chiefs in Kansas City up to Missouri? I think they would find a way to stay in Jackson County if Johnson County or Wyandotte did not come through and have a place for them. It's just now more viable. It'll make better business sense for the Chiefs to move to Wyandotte, to get a brand new stadium, to get a retractable roof. Or a dome. I'd rather it be retractable roof.
Of course, retractable.
I don't need a dome. They got a dome. We would play that a lot. I mean, if we.
Corey, you missed this?
I got to put it in the holster. That's all
Yeah, you got to hotkey that one.
I
They
know.
got a dome. Now that we're talking about the Chiefs moving over to Kansas, and if there's a dome or a retractable roof, we can hear that one more often.
What about the rolling roof? Can we bring that into play?
Rolling from like above, so they have like an amphitheater next to
it goes from Wyandotte all the way to downtown to the Royals as well. Like, hey, listen, this.
It actually rolls like a
Yes.
slinky. It just goes
Yes.
over and over a slink all the way to go then over Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah.
It takes a while though.
Yes.
It takes a long time for them for it to travel that far.
Presented by Rolling Rock, too. That's the sponsor.
That's fine.
Already
You get a
got
sponsor.
it.
That's
Already
extra
have
money.
it.
It's extra money that goes along with it. Yes, they built an amphitheater next to Arrowhead, and it rolls over the amphitheater, then back over Arrowhead, the rolling roof. That would
Sounds
be
smart.
That would be perfect. Yeah, they can roll the grass in and out, like they do at Arizona. They can also in Missouri roll grass. They can't do that in Kansas. You can gamble in Kansas. Why don't the Chiefs get connected
Hey,
with
you
the
can't do
dispenser?
any of it in Utah, so
Maybe
Well, you can't do anything in Utah. You aren't allowed to do anything in Utah. Are you and your wife staying in the same bed?
we are. We're allowed to. Yes.
Okay, that's good. I didn't
It's
know if
our,
that-
it's our marital bed.
Which wife,
So
though?
but it's only one wife. Yes.
Okay, you can't have two.
You haven't got the light set up yet, where you both have the two twins and the lights above them?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay.
We still like each other. I mean, I like her. Can't really speak for
You
her.
don't speak out of turn.
She's not here right now.
Yes, you have no idea. Is she in town with you or just you?
She is. She's with some friends.
Okay.
They're out
So you
of-
guys both
out of the
back,
pool
family's
or
back,
something.
just hanging out?
Just back for the week. Yeah, we came to see some friends and family.
That's
Yeah.
cool. And you considered us
I did.
family or friends?
Both. But
yes.
except Sterling.
I'm like an acquaintance,
Not
more
till
or
he's
less.
not
Yeah.
till he zips.
Glad I made the cut.
Yeah, see, Dylan, you're a
full
part of
zip
it.
Sterling family.
Dylan's wearing a
Half
shirt.
zip Sterling friend.
Oh, how about that?
There we
Acquaintance.
So
Yeah.
hot.
Dude, part of the family.
So hot. It's
Welcome
like a
to the
sauna.
Welcome to the family. All right, he's a good fella. He's now
Jason,
in-
I have to say though, I was sorry to hear about your ED. With you doing the ED reads now.
That's fine.
The testimonials.
Yes.
That-
That's the only way you get those.
I
is
felt
to
bad.
get
I
free,
felt bad
free
for
product.
Kalen. Yeah, they don't let you do
Not
those
anymore.
reads unless you're. Except for remember when Jake used to do them. He used to say it's probably a problem for you, but not for me. I didn't hear you say that. So
No,
Sorry to hear
I
about
didn't
the
say
ED.
it. It may be a problem for somebody. It may be a problem for me. I don't know. But I know that I'm getting the testosterone replacement therapy. I know I'm getting that. That was a problem for me. Now I am strung like bull. Now I am a real man. I got the testosterone back.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I
Take your
appreciate
shirt off
that.
and prove it.
I'm not going to do that.
Bet you won't.
You know what? You're right.
Scared.
You've won that bet.
You're a prude.
Another minus 10,000.
Yes, another free space. Jason's not going to take his shirt off on the bingo card. That's the free space. That's going to be pretty obvious. I'm in radio. I can dress down. I can wear a T-shirt and shorts, but I'm not going to show up without a shirt on, Sterling. I'm not sure why you keep wanting to do this. You keep saying, hey, man, let's go tarps off today in the show.
I said at Blue Hills. It was hot. I want to get a nice tan on. The Advent Health. Harry Higgs won it. I said, we're in the sun. It's hot. I might catch some rays, get my bronze on.
Right.
Why is that so bad, Jason?
Because of the
God,
tent.
there's so many bad things said in
Because
that
the
sentence
tent
right
we
there.
were in would probably not be. It wasn't. We weren't just standing there behind the ropes, hanging out with our camera or anything. You
you
were
guys
in
should
a,
just change the name of the show. Shirts and Skins with Jason and Stu.
Wow, that's strong. Strong.
Yeah. See, I would think the branding has already taken place. It's not going to
Yeah.
be like the Big 12 where they're going to change it to Allstate but still keep the number in there.
Hey, I'm down
That's
with
wrong.
that. Whatever can keep the damn conference together. Sell out all you can.
I was saying, just have Southwest Airlines buy it, and then it's the Southwest Conference.
Southwest, whatever it is, but you're already, the reason you would keep the number is for the branding. Once you lose the Big 12, you've lost the branding. So
Yeah.
why keep the 12?
Why keep the 12?
It's
That's wrong, too.
the Allstate 12. You don't even have 12.
It's the dumbest thing.
That seems pretty silly.
Blair was doing the math. He said it's only like $3 million more per conference school. I'm like, if you're going to sell out, I would want at least $10 million more.
Well,
Not
that-
enough for me to
Hold
sell
out for more. How badly do they want to name the conference? You know?
Sound like Frank White.
Hold out for
I
more.
want $3 million. I want $10 million.
I want $10 million. Okay, we agreed at $10 million. Well, I didn't know you were going to agree to that. We'll
$3
take $12
million.
million.
Give me $3 million.
Actually, I want $12 million.
$3 million is nothing in college athletics.
That's true.
these
Well,
days.
it can get you a
Yeah,
player
a
from
player-
Illinois.
a player and a half, maybe.
Get you $2 million.
Might be
Will
able
get
to
you
get you an offensive lineman.
Yeah, $2 million
For 4
get you
years.
a stretch 4 from Illinois. That's what it can get you.
plays.
That helps.
He's like a 2 almost, right? And he play on the perimeter.
No, he's a stretch
Hawkins?
4. He's a stretch shooter. He's supposed to be a stretch shooter for the last few years, but he actually turned into one this year. So that's why he's now worth $2 million. It's unbelievable. That's what's happened since you were gone, Corey.
Cool.
Now transfers $2 million heading to Manhattan, which good for them, man. Good
They
for
have
him.
10 new players, 9 through the portal. 10 new players, 1 high school dude.
Who are we talking about?
K-State.
Jerome Tang is like an NBA coach now. His players are making more money than he is.
Nobody's done better in the portal this year.
His players are making more money than he is combined.
That's true,
The salary of his players surpasses Jerome Tang's. I don't know if that's true or not, but he's killing the portal. He's done it the last couple of years, especially when he first got there. Killed the portal, and then last year would have done even more if he'd have known that Tomlin was going to be suspended for the season. I think they would have probably found somebody, but they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be really good this year. And he's taken over for what they were hoping Naquan Tomlin would have been.
You a BYU guy now? You a big Cougar?
No. I don't support BYU or
the Utes.
Or the Utes.
Or the Aggies.
No, Salt Lake City's a pretty crappy sports town. It pretty much sucks up there for sports. But
except for the Jazz.
No. They don't even care about they'll go to the Jazz games, but you listen to sports talk radio up there. It's about 70% Utah, 25% BYU, and then 5% Jazz and Real Salt Lake.
Wow.
Their pro teams they hardly care about, and they just care about Utah and BYU. And I could not have less interest in Utah and BYU.
Well, they're Big 12 now.
Now that they're Big 12, we'll see if that changes. But to this point, no thanks.
That's odd. I mean, I would think there would have been a lot of Utah Jazz conversation. Like I would have guessed
too.
I would have guessed that would be what they talk about.
And maybe when the Jazz are better.
Yeah.
Like while I've been there, the Jazz haven't been very good. Remember that the last day that I was on the show here was the day that the news broke that USC and UCLA were leaving for the Big Ten, and that the Rudy Gobert trade went through. So those were the two things that happened. So literally the day I'm moving to Salt Lake City, they sell off their entire NBA team. So
I remember that day. I gave you a ride to get a haircut. That's the last time I saw you. I think I've seen you once since then, but I'm like, this is weird. Last time I've seen you, I'm dropping you off at this strip mall to get a haircut.
I thought maybe you were in town to watch Real Salt Lake versus Sporting tonight.
I am. We're going.
Are you going?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, cool.
We'll be wearing our RSL gear.
They're good.
No, you
good.
won't.
We will.
You're wearing
Come
RSL
on,
gear tonight?
seriously?
We're RSL season ticket holders.
I don't care.
Wow.
We're good friends with one of the players.
Oh, what bragger, but who
name
cares?
No, my daughter's best friend on her soccer team, her dad plays for RSL.
Nah, that doesn't count.
So
Does he
we've
coach
got
the team too?
No, he doesn't coach the team, but we've gotten to know their family really well. My daughter gets to go to their practices and do all kinds of cool stuff with
It's training.
RSL. So
She goes to training.
So
She doesn't go
sorry,
to practice.
Soccer guy over here.
We're RSL
Yeah.
fans.
So, hey, if Sporting is winning at halftime, you can take your shirt off, take your time, and then put on another jersey. You can put Sporting jersey
you
back
think
on.
I am Sterling?
Yeah, it's socially
Well,
acceptable
why
now.
would you rush?
Yeah, take your
Why
time.
would you rush?
Trust me, Sterling. If I'm taking my shirt off, I am rushing like hell to put a new shirt on. I ain't that guy.
And I'm in a stall by myself.
I was actually going to say, with Corey's body, it probably does take him a while to get the shirt off.
It
and all
does.
that. So it's not that
Especially
he's
out there, it'll be stuck to
Stuck,
me
yeah,
like
you
a little
sweat,
bit. It's
yeah.
either raining on me or I'm sweating.
How's the
So,
golf out there?
It's pretty good.
Got a place? You got a club?
What's awesome is you see the mountains from every course. So even a little $30 muni in the middle of the valley
It's right there.
is surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
So it's all mountain golf.
It's all link
if you're
style?
even if you're golfing in the valley and not up in the mountains.
all link style.
No, not link style.
Didn't know if maybe it was
Actually,
just
I haven't played a
hitting
links course out there. I don't know if there is one.
Interesting.
There
like
might
I said,
be, but
yeah. Like I said, all link style.
Jason really
Moved
knows
to
his
Utah,
stuff.
not Scotland.
Jason Anderson, big golf guy.
Wyoming's all link style. Wyoming is just nothing there. I don't know. I've never been to Salt Lake City. I haven't been invited yet.
This is not true.
That
He's
is
been
not true,
invited.
actually.
He actually thought about coming, but he didn't.
Yeah, we were going to be up there late July.
You know, a lot of links out in
or excuse me,
Kansas,
late this
Jason.
month. We were going to be up there, but are there lakes in there at Salt Lake? Why didn't they move the Lakers there? Oh, because there's a lot of music and jazz. That makes sense.
That's
They
why.
they love their music there.
Oh, leather jazz.
You should see all the jazz clubs in Salt Lake.
It's amazing. right, that'll do it here on this Wednesday edition of the show. Corey, thanks for stopping in, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no
You're
problem.
here all
Good
week?
to see you guys. Well, I'm in Kansas City all week.
Oh, okay,
I'm not on the show.
Oh,
all week, no.
darn it, I was going to say, looking forward. Make sure you watch the Royals game tonight. We'll start tomorrow with probably what happens in the Royals game.
I'll give you a report on RSL Sporting.
RSL
KC.
Sporting. You
Since
can.
Nate's no longer here, I can be the
I'll tell you
soccer
right
guy.
now, RS Sporting will have a lead and give it up and lose.
I'm going to say they're going to be up 3-2 in the 70th minute, but lose 4-3.
I'll say 1-0 and lose.
RSL, I think.
4-1.
I was a little
has
too
a-
concerned. Yeah, they're a little too excited there.
A 15 game, I think, unbeaten streak right now for RSL.
So that-
hopefully
like
that
the
doesn't
Sounds like
end
they're
tonight.
due.
Like the current.
Sounds like they're due. A's lost 9 in a row. They beat the Royals, so I mean, sounds like it's sounds like they're due. You know. Thanks, Corey, for stopping by.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks for the drink, too.
You bet, buddy.
Mick, I guess I'll see you Friday.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, about that.
Well, let's hope.